Chronic loneliness is an epidemic in men. So what are you doing to cope with it? Today we sit down with a licensed therapist who has a lot to say about the cost of isolation in men's lives, and he pushes back on misconceptions that had us rethinking how we deal with it.
Hold up. Did we just go through a counseling session?
UPD starts now. Hey friends, thank you so much for joining us today on Untrained Philosophical Discussionists. My name's Jonny Hanson. Right there is my good buddy Andy Lamb. And once again, we're in the interview space. We have a great guest for you today. Andy's going to read you the bio.
Today we have got Aaron Moore. Aaron is a mental health counselor and a life coach, and he and his wife together own Solace Counseling Center. Aaron also works with the 1010 Project, helping to coach pastors on how to find community. He has a passion for mental health and seeing people find freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Aaron Moore.
Hey, man.
Welcome.
Up?
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Stoked to do it. Stoked to be here.
So where'd you start? What was your household like? What were your parents like?
Yeah, my parents are still alive. I was actually, my dad had knee surgery yesterday.
Oh.
So I was in the parking lot on the phone with him,
How's he
checking
doing?
in on him. He's doing okay. He got to go home. Well, he had knee surgery 2 days ago, got to go home yesterday, from the hospital. And so, he's, sitting in a recliner watching ESPN right now after not being able to sleep because his knee hurts too bad.
Really?
Yeah. But yeah, so it was cool. But so my parents are still around. I am the youngest of three siblings. I have one sister, Ashley, that's 4 years older than me, and then a sister, Michelle, that's 8 years older than me.
Only boy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But my oldest sister, my sister Michelle, which is also my wife's name, by the way. Don't get confused. She, like my brother-in-law, that's married to Michelle, he's been around since I was like 7. So, I mean, it was kind of like growing up with like a really great older brother. We grew up surfing together and fishing together, all our lives. Like we still do all that stuff together as much as we can. So it was kind of like growing up with an older brother who didn't like pick on you.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to like marry my sister. So he was on
Sure.
like good behavior. So
Yeah.
And that's it. It's like, it was pretty great. Like that part was pretty rad. Yeah. But grew up in Bradenton, Florida. And, definitely did grow up in the church. Grew up in the church kind of as long as I can remember. Grew up in a Southern Baptist church down there that we were in. And my sister Ashley and I talk about our upbringing and how that's affected just our view of ourselves. And we might get into it later, but our view of ourselves, like our interaction with God, faith, all the time. We've been talking about that nonstop,
Lately.
For 20 years.
In adulthood, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were talking about this last week. Her and I kind of experienced a lot of stuff similarly.
Can you expand on that a little bit? I'd like to know, I grew up in a Baptist church as well, so.
Yeah, I think, we grew up in the church, and my dad was never super into it. When I was young, my dad did not go to church with us at all. When we were young, my dad was a man of like few words, but what I would describe as like really strong principles.
Sure.
Very, very kind, very steady. Kind of like what I would describe like West Virginia blue collar Democrat. So many of things that I look at, I'm like that are really kind of great core like heart values.
Yeah,
were kind of written in that way, right? But also, my dad was not involved in the church as we were growing up. My mom would take us, and looking back, he was not a fan of the hellfire and brimstone.
Sure.
But was supportive of us going. But he would, usually on Sundays, for at least a lot of years when I was young, when we would get home from church, he would have the boat hooked up to the back of the truck, waiting for me, ready to go, So we'd hit church in the morning, and then him and I would fish in the afternoon, and it was cool. But I grew up in that, and was kind of in and out of that, that church, that specific church, kind of as I went through high school, really got connected to some guys who did Young Life ministry in high school. And
what's Young Life?
It's a parachurch ministry really focused on high school and middle school kids. They have a little bit kind of other branching into a few other things, but not really based in any one church whatsoever. You know, where often you have people they would call leaders, which are often like for middle school, it's high school kids.
Yeah.
So when I was in high school, I became a leader, you know, and was kind of mentored, you know, by some older guys who were my Young Life leaders. I mean, honestly, it was like the cool place to be. That's where like all the cool guys and all the hot girls were. So of course we're going, you know, and then what ended up happening, like when I think of like the trajectory of my life and faith, it was a very powerful thing for me to see people following Jesus that way. That helped, I think, me feel more like me. As a Christian,
because they weren't preaching hellfire and brimstone.
A little bit less hellfire and brimstone, you know. And I was like, oh, okay, we're telling people about Jesus. And so I think that was a very helpful thing for me, because like you asked, what my sister and I talk about, like, I mean, just last week, her and I were talking about even, I mean, decades later, still just realizing, oh man, like very grateful, like very truly grateful for like coming to know like who God was, still unraveling all the extra things that I learned that aren't really true.
Like what?
Man, I mean, I think growing up with a lot of, I mean, there's a, like, I would say probably like the message I got like in those years was that so much of it is literally about like right behavior. You know, not like right behavior like gets you in the kingdom, but like that this is the goal. The goal
rules.
is that this is how we are. This is and so in that, I think, I know for me, like I just internalized a lot of shame of I'm never doing it good enough. I'm never doing it right enough. Like, you know, like what the heck is wrong with me? Like that I'm still thinking this way, or like that I don't feel confident in this. So everything kind of becomes that behavior focus.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
It becomes about behavior modification
Yeah.
rather than obedience, because I love Jesus and what he did for me.
and if the behavior modification is good enough, then you're kind of in the club.
Yeah.
You know,
Say the right things, do the
Yeah.
right things, dress the right way, don't think the wrong thoughts, treat people the right way. And there's some value to that, but it's, you know, I grew up in a Christian school, and this was the modus operandi. It was just like, follow the rules, always follow the rules. And so everybody gets to walk around like little robots. And if you step outside the bounds of the rules, it's coming down with a heavy hand, because that's not how you act. And I think it does. What I would see happen so often when people leave the Christian school is they would flee from the faith, because there was never any grace involved. It was always just come down on you with a heavy hand.
Well, it had to be a relief to get
my
out of there,
gosh,
because you
man.
just be like, ugh.
And it's not
yeah.
that all bad things.
I can't make it. I'm never going to make it. So why even try?
Yeah. I had some great teachers, and I had a great foundation of my faith within it. But at the same time, too, though, it was just, once you got out of it, it was just, most people go crazy and go run into the world because of.
Yeah.
You did.
Oh, my God. A large percentage of the people that I graduated
Sure.
high school with did.
Yeah.
and somehow I didn't. Like I, you know, that's like.
Well, maybe it's this community that you found
Well,
yourself
I
in.
think it was a little bit of that. I think, you know, going back to the family piece, you know, my dad ended up kind of coming back to church as we got older.
Like what age
and,
would you say?
High school.
Okay, cool.
You know, I think the first time he came back was my sister was singing in church, and he came. And then
Still in the
kinda-
Southern Baptist Church?
Yeah, we were still there at that point. You know, none of us had been, you know, there for a while. Just not dogging that. That was, you know, just
all.
our
Not at all.
specific experience. But yeah, I mean, I think like when you say that, man, I think like somehow, I mean, I felt very fortunate that there were these kind of seasons, like, you know, the Young Life crew was really helpful in helping me find a way where it was like, man, I feel, you know, like I'm kind of myself here. And I'm experiencing what it's like to be in a community that has some grace and has some acceptance, which is much more, you know, I think like really kind of what the gospel's about. But I think that kind of was life-saving in that way. And then, you know, my sister and brother-in-law, you know, the middle ones, he's a pastor in Winter Haven, has been forever. You know, they were kind of influential and just this really steady voice of helping me know what was true and what was good. You know, and so I had a pretty solid Christian community through college. Went to UF in Gainesville. Ended up, I went up there actually to do Young Life ministry, which was funny, just because I knew some friends, and they were all like pretty wild in a good way, just like really fun dudes, really, really fun community, a bunch of guys that I surfed with and stuff. And so when it was like, oh, I can go move to Gainesville and live with these guys.
It wasn't all Bible study.
No, man.
You guys are out doing activities.
Yeah, like really fun community.
I think
like
that's
really
very
fun,
important.
Yeah. That was huge. So I think that really kept me kind of in it.
Well, right. Because my misconception of what Christian lifestyle was, I grew up in Minnesota. You're either Catholic or you're Lutheran.
Yeah.
And in both those places, it's very strict. It's what Andy would call high church. You're dressed very nicely. Don't talk. Don't mumble. Please don't call and response. We're going to do these old hymnals, and you're going to sing along, John.
Yeah.
It was very forceful, and
Everything is fine. Everything's fine. We're all fine.
Yes.
It's
Super
fake, and it
up.
feels fake. And then any of the activities that I experienced were not what you're talking about. It wasn't us. What you're describing sounds like Boy Scouts or something to that effect. You guys are out hanging out, you're starting fires, and you're sitting around the fire, or you're surfing, or you're doing any of this fun stuff. The least appealing thing was going to any of those things where you're going to go sit in a classroom and you have to be quiet, and some guy you don't know really well is going to tell you about an ethereal being.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all my buddies are outside playing and having fun, and I'm in here and this sucks.
Yeah.
That's what I would think.
Yeah.
Instead, it sounds like there's a lot of like youthful activities and fun stuff you guys are doing that how could you not be attracted to that?
I mean, I was just fortunate, man. There were good people and good dudes around me through a lot of my life.
That's such a blessing.
I mean, not that, and obviously, like, everything wasn't like all roses at all by any means.
Sure.
But I think having through most of my life in these different seasons, these different kind of like bedrocks of just good, healthy community where I was able to kind of be me and figure out who I am and who God is continually. Yeah. It kind of was just a really safe space, and that continued on through college, through that iteration. And there was some really kind of like, when I look back, I mean, there were some life-saving relationships in there.
Can you describe any of them?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely like trying to follow Jesus as much as like, I could figure out what the heck that meant as a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spent the first year of college going to community college in Bradenton, trimming trees with my brother-in-law.
Tree work.
Yeah, man. Tree work.
Oh my goodness.
Which like,
it's brutal.
The cooler at 6 a.m., stopping by the 7-Eleven, like, where you're going to drink like 4 Mountain Dews all day. And like, that's what I'm like, I don't know how I lived on that, but we did.
Yeah. Because you were 19.
Yeah. But then moved to Gainesville and lived with some great dudes. But ended up, I went through UF, but before I had to do some classes at Santa Fe Community College at the time. And I was sharing a room, I was sharing an apartment with a bunch of guys that I knew through Young Life. All these like, just jokers from St. Augustine, man. Like guys who like kind of grew up, because like, I talk about like growing up in the church, but I mean, growing up in Bradenton was interesting because when I look back, I'm like, I tell people stories of like, the stuff we saw and like the end of the back road all the way down, on the bay, and like, people in like crazy fights at 3 a.m. and stuff like that. And the St. Augustine guys, I think like if they came in, like they would love y'all, you know what I mean? Because I was like, oh man, these are like my dudes. Like these guys like seem to be kind of we're trying to follow Jesus, and they're also just goofy as hell. And like, so I'm like, can I live with y'all? And they're like, yeah, come live with me, live with us. They put me in a room with this guy, Patrick, who I'd never met, who moved down because he was dating this other girl that we knew. So Patrick and I ended up sharing a room, in this apartment. And unbeknownst to us, we had signed up for the same New Testament class at Santa Fe Community College. So we like figure this out, so him and I, and we're still good friends, to this day. So we're 19, we go to this class and end up this dude, Alvis, who's still one of my best buddies. We meet, he comes in, sits down next to us. So we meet him, and these guys would end up being like pivotal in my life. But this guy walks in to teach the class. And he looked really old to me at the time. I think he was like 32. Like literally, I was like,
brutal.
Yeah, right. Really, that does not feel good. But
It happens.
Sorry, Ron. But he walks in and he's wearing a priest collar. And I still remember like my like Baptist like internal response.
Got to get out of here.
No, I know, dude. I'm not lying. This was my thought. I was like, oh man, what if this is what the Lord is doing? I am going to lead this liberal Catholic guy to Jesus.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Like what an ass. Like, I mean, like what?
Complete narcissism.
Oh, dude,
of
The
totally.
professor of New Testament.
Well, I mean, we
studies,
had,
right?
we knew the way to live, So, I
Yeah.
mean, these liberal Catholics, they don't know this,
Gosh,
So
that's
that's
funny.
what I'm like, and I don't think I was a jerk. I think I just like thought,
Yeah,
like,
19-year-old boy
man,
thoughts.
yeah, of course I know everything. And I've been told that Catholics don't know Jesus. So, I mean,
Here we go.
wild.
I can tell them about Jesus. So this dude comes in, sits up on the desk, and is like, hey, we're going to talk about the New Testament. And people always tell you they're objective when they talk about that stuff, but that's just not even true. You can't be objective. We're subjective. So you all need to know I'm subjective. Let me just tell you where I'm coming from. So dude talks about he's an Episcopal priest in a little Anglican church in Gainesville, and tells us kind of like what he believes and his relationship with Jesus, and then he's like, hey, if anybody ever wants to get lunch, come by my office, and glad to hang out.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay. So then like a week or two later, Patrick comes in the apartment. And he's like, hey, I went to lunch with the priest. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, it was kind of cool. He's like, you should do it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I like go knock on the guy's office door. We go eat pizza. We come back. And he's like asking about my life, like really interested, really caring for me. And we get back and we're in this office. It is like it is like this big.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, you want me to pray for you before you go? I'm like, sure, man. And the thing about him is he's like super hyperactive. And so he always sat in rocking chairs because he rocks constantly.
Sure.
So we're in like this tiny office, and he starts praying for me, and he's rocking, and I'm trying to time his rocks because I feel like I'm already like a little bit like weirded out. I'm like, what is happening right now? This priest is like praying for me in this tiny little room, and he's rocking, and I feel like I'm gonna get headbutt on every other rock. So I'm like, but. I think a few weeks later, we asked him to start teaching a Bible study for us. That Bible, so for the next like 3 years of my life, I was in that dude's house with his family every Tuesday night.
Wow.
That Bible study grew. It went on years after I left Gainesville. I met my wife in there. Met some of my best friends to this day. Were dudes that showed up at that house and showed up in that room.
You said something that just totally sparked this thing in me. So, growing up in the Baptist church, we were taught that Catholics didn't know Jesus. And I went to this, when I was 17 years old, I went to this Baptist conference in Chicago, and we were doing street preaching. So they just had us walking up and talking to people at 17 years old.
Did it in DC?
And then we all come back and everybody's telling these stories. And I'll never, this is ingrained in my brain, this guy standing up going, yeah, I talked to this Catholic today and I was telling about Jesus. And they said, I'm Catholic. I already know about Jesus. And he goes, this is all I remember him saying. He goes, yeah, well, you're going to go to hell a Catholic. And I remember that to this day, like thinking, what a asinine thing to say to a human being, number one, but number two, just because they're Catholic, that they somehow don't know Jesus. And so when we see that, because that's been ingrained to us,
Yes.
that's why you walked in that room that day.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to share Jesus with this guy. It's like,
Yeah. And this dude saved my life.
yeah.
I mean, I spent years of being, anxiety is part of my story. Like I didn't probably put words to it as anxiety until kind of growing into it years later. But looking back, that was a lot of my fear, a lot of my struggles. It was probably fueled by a lot of the fear and some of the messages I got kind of, in the church growing up, and Ron was so good, man. We spent years and I mean, this is an Anglican charismatic guy. So we're praying for stuff, and then it was just as a Baptist kid, I'm like, dude, I've completely like, I mean, I'm like, we are out there, you know? But man, I mean, he had this way, you know, where I'm like freaking out about something. I'm like freaking out about this, freaking out about that, you know? And he's like, hey man, it's okay. I'm like, how is it okay, dude? I don't feel okay. Doesn't seem okay. And he's like, nah, it's cool. It's not about you. It's about God. That's all right. And I was like, okay. And he just said that to me probably 100 times over a few years. And he said it while like seeing me and like loving me and being this like amazingly like safe, accepted space.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it like saved my sanity. Like
what an interesting thing, you know, you come in, you're young. I mean, and what I'm saying is like how God can go about orchestrating your life, and he fills your early part of life with these strict rules. And then the minute you leave your parents' house, you meet a guy that just shatters your misconceptions of what the world is and what God has for you. What a great time for God to do that. I mean, what a perfect time for him to set you up for something like that, to like really, you know, take whatever lens you thought you had and go boom. And you know, give you 3D vision instead of this 2D vision that you'd had the whole time.
So good.
Yeah.
So
love how God orchestrates.
Oh, it was huge.
Those people in our lives, man.
Yeah.
At the right timing.
Yeah.
Of your spiritual formation, and just today, how you're able to glean from what you learned.
Well, and the relationships, I mean, like, even like what we're going to talk about today, like you think about like loneliness, like my relationships with those guys, you know, like Patrick, you know, came through town a couple months ago and we hung out and it was great. But then my buddy Alvis, like we're still super tight. I mean, super, like my kids call him Uncle Alvis. He had for years, like, you know, the room at the end of the hall, like was Uncle Alvis's room for when he comes to town. Like that was, and then our friend Stefan, that was, you know, part of that kind of core of us that, you know, kind of, I think like grew together for a few years. I mean, he works with us at our office. And then my buddy Ben, you know, Ben Hoyer, he's the pastor of our church. I mean, we've known him and his wife since we were 19. And like, I mean, I think we're hanging out this afternoon.
I love that.
Like, it's just been very cool.
So you go from Santa Fe and then community college, then you go to...
Did UF.
When did you decide that counseling was the role or position that you were going to go down?
I had a buddy in high school, and his house was like the house. Yeah. You know, it helped that he had a boat and lived on the water. And so we would, you know, fish. We would, you know, wakeboard. Like, I mean, we would, you know, just do all the things. But we would always end up kind of sitting around his kitchen table. And his mom was like the mom that would basically tell us when we were being idiots. But she would do it in a, you know, very helpful way. And she was a therapist. Looking back, I had no concept of what she actually did. But sure. I knew she was a therapist. And I knew that she was very helpful to me. And I mean, there was so that was the original that was in there. That was definitely like, oh man, that'd be awesome. I could be like Sue. Like I mean, that sounds great. And I mean, I love people. I love being around people. So went through, did a psych degree, kind of with that in mind down the road, but then didn't really know what that would look like. Felt like, man, I kind of want to do ministry. Was kind of obsessed with the idea of wanting to marry my wife at the time. And so, you know, my priest guy and then my brother-in-law, they were like, well, you can go do seminary for a year or two and just get a job, do seminary, see what comes. So we got married and I came to RTS in Orlando and started doing a master's in biblical studies, and still with like counseling in the background. I came here, started that degree, met this dude, you know, who my friend Chris, who was going there, and he was in the counseling program. I had no idea they had a counseling degree. And I mean, I think he was in the counseling program not long after. I think Atkins went through it.
Yep,
like
he did.
Like a year or two before that.
Yeah.
So that was where I met Mike.
Shout out to Mike.
Yeah. So I mean, I remember being there like, oh my gosh, they have a counseling program. Holy cow. Well, I got to apply to this counseling program. So I applied to the counseling program, you know, for like the next like year, you know, and I still remember I like had the interview with the guy who founded the program, and he was kind of like a big deal at the time, you know, at least among that little small core of people. And I put on my tie. I literally put on a tie and, you know, button up shirt, you know, and I'd been married, I think like 6 months, and I went for my interview to get into the counseling program. Because I was like, well, because you could do like both degrees and stuff. And he sat and he talked with me. And at the end, he was like, yeah, man, it's like, if you really want to do this, I guess we can think about it. But I'd kind of just tell you to go home and come back another year. And I was like I was like, what the heck, man?
Oh yeah.
And I probably stumbled through some stupid response. But he was like, hey man, you're young. You just got married. This is probably going to be hard on you, and it's going to be hard on your marriage. Your marriage is hard enough as it is. Why don't you go like do that a little bit first and then come back?
At the time, how did that sit with you? And then looking back, how do you think that impacted you?
Oh, I felt like he like kicked me in the gut.
He's saying you're not good enough.
Yeah, totally. I felt like he was totally saying, like, I mean, it totally hit that way.
It's good enough for me, but a guy like you,
Like, you really,
I've heard
like,
it. I've heard those
go
things.
grow up, little boy.
Yeah.
But then I remember like a couple weeks later, I actually felt relief, and I was like, okay.
What did you do in the meantime?
I just kept doing the other degree.
Okay.
I did some biblical study stuff. My wife and I we ended up working at a church. I did youth and family ministry at a church, and she was, like the office manager or whatever. And so we ended up we made friends and kind of found some community. And then I started the counseling program the year after that.
How old were you when you went through the counseling program?
25.
Okay.
Far too young, but it worked out. But coming out of it, it is technically, it's a program where, you become kind of state licensed. You got to sit for, board licensure exams. You got to do, a few thousand hours of internship and stuff like that before you're fully kind of licensed on your own. So I came out, and I still working at church a little bit, but I had a buddy that ran, a private practice who was a Christian guy in town. I started working for him a little bit, and I just like bombed. Like,
in what way?
I didn't know how to like build a business or like find clients.
So you were good at the practice part of it. You weren't good at the business side.
I was as good at the practice part of it as a 25-year-old.
Sure.
Should be.
Got it.
No offense, 25-years-olds, but
There's an experiential thing that has to kind of
Yeah.
formulate, and
You know?
I'd imagine.
I mean, like one of my mentors told me, she's like, you gotta actually just learn that you don't know stuff.
gosh,
And
you
be
didn't
okay
learn
with
that at
that.
19 when you assumed you'd
know?
teach the teacher?
No, man. I mean, that's like one of the short list of mentors who kind of like saved my life and my sanity was another one that, a lot of people in town know. She passed away a couple years ago. But Lottie, when I was graduating, and she had kind of mentored me through, my grad program, and she's an older, therapist in town, and we're sitting in like a Panera. And I'm like talking about like, I'm excited to graduate, start to get to work. And like, and she's like, yeah. She's like, it'll be really great. She's like, just remember, you're going to probably do really bad therapy for at least 5 years. And I remember looking at her and being like,
Excuse me?
like, I think I was like, why would you say that? Like, I'm like, everybody's told me I'm kind of awesome, and she's like, no, she's like, it's okay. You don't know anything. I mean, she literally looks at me in Panera on Winter Springs and goes, you don't know anything, but that's okay. Why would you know anything? She's like, it's going to take a while to know anything. She's like, but it's okay. She's like, you're going to probably not know anything for like 5 years, but you'll start to figure some stuff out. She's like, and you know what? This is what she said word for word, burn in my brain. She's like, don't worry. God's good. He might even let you help some people. Just don't hurt anybody. I'm like, what the freaking crap?
Yeah.
But her and I revisited that conversation 5 years later. We revisited it 10 years later. And we even talked about that, with my wife and I laying next to her in her hospice bed 2 years ago, right before she passed. And so just powerful, like freedom that gave me to be like, you really don't know what you're doing, man.
Only the wisdom of somebody who's learned all that can
So good.
can share that with you to help set the right perspective and
Yeah.
set the tone for your career.
Yeah, I don't think we can highlight that enough, listeners and viewers. We talk about it all the time in here, and it can seem a bit unimpactful. Mentorship. It is, you'll find that every successful individual that we bring in here and speak with, everyone who's doing well in their position, has a trail of people that were more experienced than them that stepped into their spot. And as I'm sure we're going to discover here in the story, he becomes a mentor. So then he gets mentees as he gets the development underneath his wings. be looking out for these people in your life. If there is someone that is doing something that you think is awesome and it's something you want to do, go talk to them. Most people are flattered when you start talking to them about the thing that they do. They want to tell you about it. And if you show interest, they'll probably help you. So it's just so critical in life. I think there's so many times in my life where I didn't appreciate the people that were around me that were older, that were trying to breathe life into me because I thought I knew everything for so long. And it really led me to dark places. And I think had I opened my mind up earlier and been more receptive to some of that mentoring and that guidance, man, my life could have been a lot smoother.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you have so many of these, amazing people and that you're identifying them for their value.
Huge for me. Because I think like you said, like we often either think we know everything or we at least think we're supposed to know everything. And so like when, I just had people like the most powerful mentors in my life were not the people who thought I was awesome. Mm-hmm. Like they were the people who were like, "Hey, man, we love you, we see you, we believe in you."
Yeah.
And it's okay that you don't have a clue what you're doing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like that's all right. Jump in, come with us anyway.
I think
that
learning a lesson in humility early can help set the tone for the right pace along the way. Because I know, at 25, you're ready to go. I want to save the world and I want to build this giant thing. And you have to remember that you're 25. You don't get the wisdom of a 45-year-old or a 50-year-old at 25 years old. We have this.
Not supposed to.
Yeah, Jonny and I have this mentor, Dave Fox. Shout out Dave, who's 70, in his late 70s, and he always just reminds us. Like we were just talking the other day, and I said, "Man, I want your wisdom." And he goes, "The only way you get my wisdom is to get my age, and you don't want to be there yet. So just run the race that you're at."
Yeah, man.
And so I think that, what was her name?
Lottie.
Setting that tone for you so early on in your career is probably why you're still the success that you are today with what you do.
I think it gave me a lot of freedom. It also helped me, like, as things got hard, like working through marriage stuff or things that happen, you go through life and crap happens. I think it's hard enough not to like feel like, oh man, I'm completely blowing it. I don't like this. Like, why the heck is everybody else? I'm sure we'll talk about like loneliness and community, but when like it's so easy to kind of go, man, why does everybody else like have it together? And I feel like I'm the only one over here blowing it.
Yeah.
But having people that are like, hey man, it's okay. Like it's all right. Like I'm not scared of you not having a clue what you're doing. I'm not afraid of you freaking out right now. It's all right, man. And so it helped me freak out just a little bit less.
Yeah.
And so I think that was huge. So we were tight with her for the next however many years until she passed.
Love that. So let's just get into it, man. Loneliness. We've been doing this series. This is the third part of our series, talking through. We're going to call it an epidemic of people feeling alone.
Yeah.
In your career, in your field of what you see, what do you think is the greatest reason why people today feel more alone? I saw this thing the other day that they started counseling 120 years ago, and 120 years later, we're the most anxious, depressed, lonely society that we've had maybe ever.
Yeah.
With more tools and more knowledge than we've ever had before. Why do you think that is?
Oof.
It's a big question, and
it's a big question. It's a big question because I think there's a lot of there's so many contributing factors, right? Some probably overarching, some that are really specific, like we were saying earlier, specific to certain populations, certain ages, right? But I mean, popular culture right now is kind of obsessed with the phrase, male loneliness epidemic, which I think is real. Excuse me. I think that definitely is a real thing, So I think there's like culturally and societally, we don't live the way we used to. Mm-hmm. We don't live, where, we have, kind of roles in a society or in a community like we used to have, or like, still exist in other more kind of tribal oriented cultures, or there's other cultures around the world where they are more connected and more communally based. Our Western society has grown more and more and more down the individualistic route. Mm-hmm. So like, I mean, my expertise is not in like the philosophical basis of that, but I mean, there's a lot of good stuff on like what traces that back to like the Enlightenment, and then how how that's kind of played out. But culturally, I do think it's accelerated even more so, for us in probably the past few decades even.
Well, I think the introduction to, computer and technology has obviously played a huge role in that, because now we're no longer out for a lot of the jobs that people have today. It's they sit in front of a computer desk at a cubicle all day long, or maybe they're even working remotely, or maybe they're working online. And so we don't have this experience where we show up to an office or show up to a trade where I'm working with a team of people to try to get something done. I have a job to do here by myself all day long in front of this screen, and so I don't have communication with people all the time. And I think that would be one of the pieces that's kind of led to that societally today in the Western.
Yeah, I think with younger generation, that's a big piece too. Whereas before, I think some of the research points to that previously, like say you're in your 20s. Well, typically, in decades past, guys in their 20s, if we kind of just talk about, because there's some different stuff between men and women in this for sure, but guys in their 20s would have actually felt more connected. There's I forget exactly what the percentages are, but the difference in the amount of, kind of close friends guys say they have is far drastically reduced than the data from 1990.
Sure.
Right. So I think part of that technology, just on a very kind of surface practical level, completely reinforces that.
Gallup did a poll, and this is found today, that 25% of men say they don't even have one close friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's one in 4 men. I mean, that's a shocking number. And I don't think I wouldn't have thought of that. I've always had my little band of brothers, as it were, throughout life. I guess that kind of goes to what you're inferring there, is these age groups are really the greater separator. Right now, it's our age of guys, we didn't grow up with computers and cell phones and all this. So really, you were running around with your buddies, and you were developing through experiences. You'd go through some stuff, and you'd have to collude together to get through it. And that can develop those deeper relationships. When in your practice did you start really kind of seeing loneliness, and when did that really start becoming such a focal point for you?
I mean, when I started seeing clients, I've been seeing clients since 2005. And so, it's been a long time. I've worked, I spent a couple of years working in an outpatient addictions clinic, and then, worked for a few other offices. My wife and I have kind of had our private practice. I've also done a lot of stuff with different nonprofits. And so talking about these kind of issues with different groups, I say that because that thread shows up everywhere, right? I think we see it it is there in all kind of walks of life. I think there's seasonally, in your life, specific ways that can make it better or worse. There's things that can make it, more difficult or more evident. But to me, there is an element that, I think the phrase you hear it often, and at least I do. I think we are created to know and be known.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We are created to actually be seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
understood.
Yeah. Well, that. That's what, to really feel seen is. I feel deeper than understood is accepted, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because, I've had friends in my life where I'm I can't even tell you what I'm feeling. I'm just a freaking train wreck of a mess. And it's basically I'm vomiting these feelings on the table. And to have a friend look at me and be I got you. I see you. Yes. I'm with you. I don't even need you to fully understand me. I just feel like you are with me. And I think we're built for that.
On the other side of it, Andy and I were just talking about this in one of the episodes for this series. Is recently I had said, "Hey man, how you doing?" And we were in a place where maybe Andy didn't feel like unpacking it, but he said, I'm all right. And I didn't chase it down because I knew it wasn't the right time. But the very next time we were together, I go, "What's up?
Yeah.
What's going on?" And he didn't tell me anything. He didn't have to verbalize anything. I know him well enough that when his countenance is low, it radiates off him to me, and I read it as something's off, something's not right. I need to investigate it. The first second I have some time, we're going to dig into this thing.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about
Yeah.
here. It's like that, living experientially with a brother is to like know them beyond words.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think, and I love the way you describe that, man, because there's something really cool when we have that space where we're free to go there and we're also free not to. Like, cause sometimes when I worked with this nonprofit for years, and I realized they had these groups of interns come in, and it was a mental health based nonprofit. We got to do a lot of work, got to travel around the country, teaching conferences and stuff, do all stuff. And so it was a really interesting view into like how, some younger generations were experiencing mental health and stigma and shame in like, the 2000s and 2010s. Right. And I realized like there was a little bit where these interns would come in and they'd all live in a house together. And there we'd teach these conferences and people would come. And I remember the first time these people came to this conference, and then the next day, and it was mainly a bunch of college kids. And we're talking about like mental health stuff. I'm teaching on like stigma and shame and depression, anxiety. And the next day they all walk in the morning and they look exhausted. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? They're like, oh, we all stayed up till like 4 a.m. in the hot tub telling each other our life stories. And I'm like, hold up. I'm like, wait a second. Because I'm like, y'all all just met each other, when we're starving for community, right? All of a sudden people see me, right? And then, but I realized with these, I was like, wait a second, y'all. To me, like real connection and community, it's not defined by either. Like we can kind of go, oh man, this isn't real unless we talk about all the deep, heavy, dark shit. And I'm like, I don't think that's the case. Or we go the other way. So they just like freedom to go, hey man, if we need to go there, if you want to go there, I will go there. Let's do it.
Yes.
Hey man, if you just want to be like, I'm all right, and I don't want to talk about this right now, let's like, hit some golf balls or whatever. Because I don't want to do it. That's free too. And that's the good stuff, man.
It is the good stuff because I think very often there's this expectation when it comes to when somebody has something going on that we want to have the solutions and we want to have the answers for all of them. And very often we end up with these Christian platitudes that are the most unhelpful thing to say to people, like God's got a plan or just have more faith. And it's like, that does zero for me. Can you shut up and just sit there and be by me right now?
Yeah. How about taking a step back? Maybe I don't know exactly what I'm going through. I'm just all kinds of disturbed inside, and I got to I'm still thinking this thing through a bit. And, some of it has to do with you maybe.
Yeah.
So why don't you give me a second? Let me formulate what the heck it is going on. Be here. Because when I'm ready to speak, I want to speak to you.
Okay.
But
can I ask you all a question?
Yeah.
Why do you think we do that? Like, why do we have to fix it?
Because it sucks. Because I know it sucks because it happens to me.
Okay.
So I know that when I'm in that festered up spot, I do want to get to the other side of it. And if I see my brother in that kind of place, my heart goes out to him. I can empathize with that. I'm like, bro, I don't want to see you in this place. I'm here for you. Let's get you through this because I like the version of you that ain't feeling that way.
Yeah.
And I care for you.
Okay.
I would also say I think people are uncomfortable sitting in the uncomfortable.
Well, there's that for sure too.
Right. I don't know what it's awkward sitting here in this weird tension. And so rather than just sitting here and being here and like developing, I'm just going to spout out a bunch of stuff that I think is going to be the right answer for you, just so I don't feel uncomfortable anymore.
And then I can get the heck out of here because your vibe is killing my vibe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I completely agree. I mean, there definitely is that part of us. Like, I love you. I want good things for you. Right.
Sure.
Are you counseling us right now? Is this?
No.
This is like I need to sit in a chair like this right now and be like,
I kind
First time Andy was ever mean to me.
I kind of geek out on like this. I mean,
I love that you asked the question, by the way.
I geek out on this stuff because, so if we're talking about loneliness, we're talking about connection and community, right?
Yep.
And I mean, I'm sure we'll get to it, in a few minutes, but like, typically in us as people, like we have this natural, like, aversion to vulnerability.
Unpack that.
Like what you just described is like, hey man, like if I'm moved towards you, and you said it too, like if I'm like in really like well, not just proximity, but like what I would call like intimate proximity. Because there's proximity. Like we can be here, but I might just have kind of like some kind of barrier here where I'm like, I'm not affected by how you're feeling. But if I'm going to see you, or you're asking me to like see you, meaning like you're really like, hey, how are you doing? Man, I'm not well. Well, that there's a vulnerability there, right?
Yeah.
There's an openness in that you just gave me, so in that, there's something in that I think there's usually a bunch of reasons in us that we like, ooh, I don't like how this feels, right? Because like I want to give you an answer, because if I can give you an answer, there's a writer named Parker Palmer. He talks about this really well. That if I can give you an answer, that if I'm like, hey, well, if you just do this and this and this, that'll help, right?
But that's because we live in the self-help world that we live in today. Everything's got a process. Everything has a formula to it. So if you just do these 5 things, then it'll fix your problem. And
yes, and I think that exists, and now especially like even in our culture, like I mean the whole like kind of grind hustle, even like physical fitness culture is like you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. So it actually like now I think guys are building relationships and it's all about like, I'm going to help you like optimize. And I'm like, what the F is that? Like, so basically you're here so that I can get better. Ooh, personally, I mean, I think that's crap, because we're going, hey, I'm really uncomfortable with you not being okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to give you some things that you need to do to be okay.
Go do them over there, by the way.
And and if they don't work for you, well, that's on you.
yeah. Right. There
That's
go.
on you. But I feel okay.
Yeah, you've not lived up to the criteria I gave you, so, go kick rocks.
And I think that there's a lot of reasons to that, right? I think most of us we didn't necessarily grow up knowing how to talk about those things.
Yeah.
We didn't have people that invited us into vulnerable spaces. So naturally vulnerable spaces freak us out.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And then like when you get into spaces, I mean, I just know for me, like stepping into those things, and I experience this a lot with my kids. My kids have a way of tapping like scared places in my heart more than almost anything else.
Scared in what way?
Oh man, like I don't.
Like you don't have the answers for something?
Well, I don't like feeling out of control. Right? I don't like feeling out of control. So like having humans that I love more than life itself.
Yep.
If I really sit with the fact that like I don't have any control over my daughter's anxiety, that feels terrible.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like if she's upset, what does it make me want to do? It makes me want to be like, well, honey, it's really not that bad, because and my daughter, especially my son did too. My daughter, she has had this amazing talent since she was little at like calling it out in me, where she'd be like, Dad, you're just telling me it's okay because I think you want to feel okay, but I don't feel okay. And I'm like,
Jeez, you were.
How old is she?
she's 13 now, but she's been doing that since she was like 7.
Gosh.
The
wisdom of that.
Oh, dude. But I just, all I say, like, I think, like, we want to fix, we want to get away from the things that make us uncomfortable.
But how much of that is, and I think I would say probably with our generation and older, it was a system that was taught to us, is that you don't share that stuff. It's men do hard things. And so life is going to be hard. And so you just need to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and go do hard things and figure it out and just stuff all that stuff down and just deal with it.
But we were taught that those were the hard things to do.
Yes. And they were to be respected, by the way. That stoic guy who doesn't show and he's not all weepy and whiny, that guy's the guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Your John Waynes of certain generations, or I'm trying to think of who are.
You go through the 80s and 90s, growing up, the Sylvester Stallones and the
There
Arnold
you go, Bruce
Schwarzeneggers, the
Willis.
movies that we would watch, right? This is what a man looks like. And
Right.
so you got to be fit, and you got to be strong, and you got to be capable, and you got to be willing. And is there value to that? Of course there is.
Sure.
But I don't think it's helpful for the realities or the realness that we experience as men, especially being a father, being a dad. None of those things help me with that, as far as being present and being available for people.
There is like this other side of it too. It's like, I'm willing, and I think I've pretty much always been willing to my core group of guys to listen. But, there'll be relatively a stranger who will come up and want to, you'll say in a moment like, hey, how are you? let's say at church, somebody comes in
Yeah.
and they're your age or they somehow relate to you and you go, hey man, how you doing? And then they start unpacking and it's steep and it's traumatic. And first off, I don't have the answers. Secondly, I don't know you well enough to give you answers. I don't want to make things worse. And I don't know that I have a garbage can empty enough to take all your garbage inside of it. There's all these things that I'm telling you my thoughts.
Okay, but everything you described, one, like I think that's how most of us feel.
Yeah.
Like I'm a therapist, dude. I feel like that.
Okay.
Like I mean that is such like man, it's so cool because you put words to I think such of our like universal experience.
Yeah.
Where it's like okay, I don't have answers, which means that there's a part of us that feels like we're supposed to.
Ooh. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it feels bad for me not to have answers. I'm supposed to have answers for you.
Especially you.
I don't like. Yeah, right. Yeah, you don't want to live in here. But it's like I don't want to live in a world where these things exist without answers. And dude, you're talking to me about stuff at church. Well,
how much of that is timing? I don't have the time for the capacity for it right now.
Well,
either.
I think in those moments we want to not have the time for it.
That's the default.
Like, man, you know what? I told my wife that I was gonna, meet her for lunch, and we got to get the kids out of here. Like, I mean, I want to not have time because I want to be able to have 3 minutes.
Shoot me a text Monday afternoon, 3 Mondays from now at 4 p.m.
And then consequently, we don't want to ask the question anymore. Now I no longer ask you how you are doing because I don't want to have to deal with the answer that you're going to give me other than what the church Christian answer today is. Fine.
So we're describing all these reasons why there's like an epidemic of loneliness because we don't want or feel equipped or have any, we've never been ushered into it. These difficult spaces.
We don't have the tools.
Well, and we think we're supposed to have tools that actually don't exist.
Wow.
Like that, but I mean, I really believe like that part of us that's like, well, I should have answers. Why? We want answers because I think it makes me feel out of control, and it also feels really good to have answers. It feels really good to tell people what to do.
I think there's that prideful part of my heart that wants to have the right answers because I want to see you fixed, and then I get to go, you're the way you are now because
this guy.
Yeah, because of those magic words I said to you that Sunday afternoon, right?
Well, it also makes
it's multifaceted.
It makes the world safer. Like I want to live in a world where, I can go, hey, pray about this, invite Jesus into this, you do this, and it will be okay. I mean,
formula.
I just sat for 4 days with pastors talking about like deep heart stuff, and they do this. Like, it's like that, man, Jesus should come into this. I should be able to do this. And if I do this, then I'll feel this way and things will be okay. And it's just not.
Gosh.
Like life doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
But we want it to.
We do want it to. So what do you think is experientially then in that somebody has that experience? So let's say somebody walks up to you then what is the right thing to say then?
Well, when you're struggling, what helps you feel most cared for by Jonny?
Just to be heard.
What's that? What is that like? Just think about it for a second. What feels the best for you?
I think the thing that feels the best for me is an acknowledgement that what I'm going through is relevant.
Validation.
It validates the feelings that I'm feeling. I don't always like it when he pushes back, even though usually when he does, he's right, just because he knows me well enough. But
Timestamp that. I'm right.
Just create a loop trailer with that right there.
Usually when he does, he's right.
He's right.
Just go and tell him.
No.
Just tell him.
Come on, man.
Just tell him real quick.
Move on.
Just say it. Just say it.
Andy was the best fisherman the last time we fished.
Greatest fisherman
I know
in
you
the
are.
world.
Moving right along
Keep
now.
unpacking.
I think Jonny actually what he said was right there. I want to feel validated that the feelings that I'm feeling are the right feelings, even though they may not be.
Okay. How do you feel that when he actually just doesn't really say anything? Because I think you still feel it then too, right? Like you still feel.
I don't know that I feel validated if you're not going, Yeah, you're right. Because in my prideful, sinful heart is I want to know that the way I'm feeling. Let's just take anger for an example. If I'm feeling angry about something that has happened, I want him just to sit and go, yeah, you should be angry about that because it makes me feel validated, the feelings that I'm feeling, but it's probably not helpful.
Yeah. But
What I
you
think,
can feel cared for though, right?
Absolutely. Yes,
so
you're right.
I'm thinking about when Andy and I go fishing, we do a fishing trip every year where we go for a few days down to the Keys. And we will be on the boat for 12, 14 hours a day. There are hours long blocks where nobody's talking.
Yeah.
And we're just sitting and thinking, and music's maybe playing. Sometimes it's not even, there's no music playing, and we're just sitting and we're casting, and there's the rhythm of casting and reeling and the wind blowing and the waves and kind of just the motion of the water in the earth
And the beauty.
and the beauty. And all of a sudden something comes to mind that I want to share with him. And you're not always responding. And it might be something that has festered me up. And finally, I've come to the terminus of what my opinion is on it. And just having that other person there to like share with. And it might take me a while still to unpack the larger concept of it that is the root. But it's like something about verbalizing it and having someone there just to receive that verbalization is very valuable. Whether we even conclude to a remedy, it's like even just being able to speak some of that stuff out after this long gap where it's like a realization, and then, and then whatever the outcome is, maybe you've experienced something similar. And then we both start laughing about it because it's like, oh, you've had that too?
Yeah.
And maybe it's something that,
But that's like a full range,
Yes.
right? That's like like we can laugh about it. I can share it and you don't have to respond. We can just sit on the boat and cast. Like there's this like safety, right? And obviously like
There's
you guys,
space for it though.
You guys have been, it's available to you,
yeah.
right? But like it's obviously like for everybody watching, like it's taken you guys a while to build this,
Years.
right? Years, right? It also sounds like, and even from you and I's conversation, at breakfast, it's taken you guys a while to build that individually, the ability to be comfortable with that.
Yes.
Because as you're describing it, you're like, I can share with him, and you're not like asking him to fix it.
No.
And you don't
great.
You don't really feel a burden to fix him, right? Like when you describe this dude that I don't really know comes up to me at church and he starts sharing something, you would be like, okay, I got to have some answers for this guy.
That's it.
Andy's a freaking train wreck over here. I can't fix him, so I don't even feel a burden to. We're just going to fish.
He's told you about me? Did you guys talk about
I
I was out of
love
the room?
that. That's, yes.
So y'all kind of got to this place where there's this freedom where there's not a burden to like fix each other.
Right.
So there's way more like
So
availability.
do you think then the solution is just we need to stop pretending like we have to have all the right answers and just be available?
I think that would be a wonderful step. But what that means is we got to be comfortable, I think we have to be willing to be really uncomfortable at times. Vulnerability, that's the thing. To me, that's such a linchpin of like the loneliness epidemic, right? Is because things that feel vulnerable, we don't know how to step into. So engaging in social spaces where I could make friends, it's more comfortable to like play video games at home. Right. Actually reaching out, if I'm 50 years old, reaching out, to this dude that, I met to see if he just wants to go get lunch or go hang out or whatever. And you know what? It's easier for me to let my wife plan some social stuff and we'll just I'll kind of be along for the ride.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, yes.
And we can live that way. And on a bigger scale, like, the data on loneliness, the chronic loneliness is like the health risks of it are equal to smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Holy smokes.
Like the health effects long-term of chronic loneliness, like heart disease, blood pressure, all kinds of stuff. Right. And one thing that says to me, there's a lot of reasons behind that, but is that in like that kind of like loneliness, that lack of like real connection and community, I'm not getting things that I need. Like I am not getting like the nutrients that I need to be able to live life and handle the things that I need to handle.
Do you think there's actions that men are taking that's kind of like separating them from this?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's
Or maybe a lack of action?
I mean, I think it's both, right? I mean, I think there. I mean, on like a practical level, there's like tech stuff. I mean, COVID definitely made things way worse, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then COVID kind of gave us this weird little place where we could kind of, I think society kind of went like, it accelerated into isolation, and then people are like, oh, I can do this. I can just stay this way, right? So I think there's some of that, like. There's research and stuff on how like people talk about like third spaces, whether that's like, the pub down the street or whatever, like those have all gone way down over the past few decades. So like men don't have a place.
social
Well, that's because the
places
amount
where
of
you
people
go.
drinking today is on the rapid decline too. So those places men used to go to find camaraderie has also shifted because people aren't drinking like they used to as well.
But there's less bowling leagues. They exist, but there's less. Like there's less everything in that way, right?
These social gathering spaces.
Maybe pickleball's different. I don't know. Maybe that's
Boy,
why, maybe that's why
pickleball's
people
on the uprise.
Maybe that's why people love
Shout out
pickleball,
to my father-in-law,
right?
Izzy, pickleball master,
Seriously.
Longwood, Florida.
Right now in the villages, there's somebody just like
Killing.
Massive.
killing it.
We have a guy at our church, Rick Napoleon, shout out Rick, that opened the Pickler.
Oh yeah.
So he is one of the guys that runs that. So that, I mean, it's just a community within itself. So there are still those things, but
those things matter.
They do.
Right? They actually matter because they are doorways, right? And so I think I try and remember. I'm like, hey man, like to me they might not matter as much because I'm a little bit like you. Like I had one of the pastors. We were talking about like this past week at this retreat. Pastors like are asking about. We're talking about it's so hard for pastors to have friends like in their town, and like feel for a million reasons, right?
Sure.
But we were talking about like, do you have guys that you can call and that you really see you and know you? And dude's like, do you have that? And if so, like how many? And I'm like, I do. I mean, I got a good amount of guys and they know me and they know my crap and they know what's up. We can also hang out and, I mean, some of them are the guys on my old man softball team on Monday nights. But so that stuff exists, right? But your question of are there things that men are doing or not doing?
Let me give you an example. Like the reason Andy and I, you said this, we've been friends for a long time. The kind of genesis of our friendship was a fishing trip for my engagement party. That's what we did. We didn't go do all the other crazy stuff some folks will do. I took Andy and some of my brothers and some other pals. We went on a boat. We went fishing, and it was most of the day.
Yeah.
And there's something about that kind of thing again that it gives you something, a focus thing. So you can focus on this thing over here and you can lob things back and forth a bit. And it really kind of opened the door to have that first chunk of time of kind of hearing, almost offhandedly some of his life and him offhandedly hearing some of mine, not directly, it's just you and me across from a table. And now we have to fill this empty space. Yeah. It's already being filled by these activities.
Yep.
And then I'm catching little bits and some of it's relatable. And then all of a sudden more of it's relatable. And that's me too. I hear myself in that, which then gave us kind of the doorway to like chat more the next time I seen him at the gym. Because we worked at the same place. And like that, again, we really always go back. That was the first time where I think we kind of said like, in my heart, I said it. And I think you've said the same. It's like, I could hang out with this dude. Mm-hmm. It could just be him and I'd be cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so like, I think
that's why we then let our wives like set up an appointment. Like you're saying like, oh, we're going to go do this gathering. Same thing applies there. It's where you can hear everybody speaking and then some guy will scoff at something. Somebody over there said it's dumb and you scoff too. And you go like, hey, you got that? All right. We got a similar sense of humor, homie.
But I think for a lot of dudes, like it's that willingness to do the next step. Right.
What would the next step be?
Well, I mean, for some guys, the next step is like, go fishing. For some guys, the next step is, hey man, like you don't have friends at all, but you kind of want to play tennis. Maybe you to go find a tennis league. And so to me, it's the next step of what's vulnerable for you.
Why do you think guys
and doing that?
And for guys who are already in it, like you said, like, man, I recognize he's talking about stuff that I'm dealing with. So you're kind of in touch with it and you're open to it. And then it's like, hey man, we could go a step farther. we could go a step farther. Like wherever we're at, we can go a step farther.
That's that vulnerable space, though.
But
they might go,
I'm moving into
you
something
and me?
uncomfortable.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
I
and
think
I'm
that's
moving into something
that's the piece of it
uncomfortable.
right there, is that people don't want to step into the vulnerability part, because very often, I especially see in the Christian community, we've created these weird like accountability groups from days past, where it's, I'm going to sit across from you and tell you how many times I watched porn this week, and it's and so there's this weird connotation that that's what this has to be, and it's like no, that's not what this has to be. Maybe you get there, right? But that's not where we're going to start. We're going to start with, what do we have in common, and let's just go hang out.
Well, and I think when we do that, like I guess there's a place for some of that, right?
Of course.
Of course there is.
But all the way back to like where you and I were talking about our good Baptist upbringing, right? Now we're hanging out to do what? We're hanging out so you can try and get my behavior to change.
Mm.
Well, what if, like, I don't really think we're built to have friendships that just help me be a more optimal human.
Gosh.
I mean,
Well, then you're lording you're like the Lord over me or something too.
but
But
that's like the agenda. Like it's like,
Right.
man, we're here. So
there's
we
a
can
power
get better.
imbalance.
Like,
So
what? Like,
there's a power imbalance.
that's
So we're
weird.
not friends. You're like some mythical figure in your walk, and I'm this imperfect, broken thing, and I can't be hanging out
I don't
with
think
you.
like that type of like accountability group doesn't necessarily make us less lonely, in my opinion.
Sure.
In your experience, what do you think prevents men from naming their loneliness?
Ooh, man, that's a great question.
Pride,
A few things.
ego,
Well, I mean,
and then we can get
I
deeper
don't
into
think
it.
I don't think of like things as like pride and
Shame?
ego, because to me, pride and ego is nothing more than like a response to like our fear of vulnerability, right?
Okay.
And like shame speaks all kinds of lies in there. Like, I mean, shame, like the ingredients of shame there's always elements of lies in there. Mm-hmm. You know, that
Oh, yeah.
I'm the most messed up one in the room. I'm never going to be loved and accepted. I don't deserve to be loved and accepted.
Nobody knows what I'm thinking. Nobody knows what I'm going through.
You know, so what I think, like sometimes people look at the outside and they're like, oh, it's ego. I'm like, man, ego is just, that's the jacket I put on. You know what I mean? Ego is like, man, I mean, that's like, ego,
It's the mask.
Ego is like, I just think of this, but I think of like remember like when we were young, and you know, if like you had like the Charlotte Hornets jacket or something like that, you know what I mean? Like ego is like, man, like
The starter
Ego's
jacket?
like, yeah, dude, yeah, like you put on a starter jacket, like look how freaking cool I am, you know, like that, like all that is just an effort to not feel what I'm feeling in here and not let you see it, you know?
Well, and I think that's because we assume like the baseline is good.
Well, I think
We
that
misassume rather
that's
that the baseline is good, and we see it and we think good, not good.
for sure.
And I don't relate to that, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to take the risk to
Yeah.
check and see if they're actually not good too,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
start
and
the
it
experience.
perpetuates it.
So
How did you word your question a second ago?
In your experience, what do you think prevents men from naming their loneliness?
Yeah,
You think shame
I
is
love the idea of naming it. Well, like I mean, it could. Well, okay, naming happens on a few levels, right? Sharing is different than naming. There is an element where when I share something with you, I mean, one of the reasons why like our relationships with other dudes are so powerful, just one thing that happens there is that there is something that when I speak something to you out loud, man, it makes it real. If I tell you this, then it is out there.
Yeah.
And then like the reality that comes from you, especially if you see me, oh my gosh, right? It's also why we really need people that can hold it with us.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the sharing does, like that kind of naming, you know, that outward, like I'm going to share this with you is huge. I think for some of us, that's the hurdle, right? We know it's there, but letting it be real and live in the world. I also think it's really important though. Most of us did not grow up learning like an emotional vocabulary. You know, like you said earlier, man, like you were describing like, well, I don't even know what's happening in me.
Yeah.
So how do I name to you what's happening in me when I don't have words for it? Right? Like, and that's where, I mean, I think it is relevant for men because, I mean, you know what I mean? How many couples I've sat with where like I'm asking dude, like, how's that feel? And then his wife's like, oh, he just doesn't really experience emotions. And I'm like, now, emotions, they exist, kind of wide spectrum, right? But our experience of them does vary. But the possessing of them to some degree or other is innate, but that doesn't mean anything in terms of us being able to identify what we're what we're experiencing and be able to have language for it. There's my buddy was talking about this the other day. Theologian Stanley Hauerwas. He talks about we see what we can say, and so there is an element where I think many of us, we can't name the loneliness because we haven't had relationships and communities that gave us language to identify and name what we're feeling.
Gosh.
I resonate so much with that. I spent a decade of my life burying all my stuff in a bottle. My marriage was broken. My life was a mess. There were so many facets to my life that were going wrong. I would show up to church every Sunday, and I would show myself just enough to let people see that I was there, but never really let anybody in to actually see, because I don't think I could have told you why I felt so miserable on the inside and why I just continued to drink every day just to kind of, because I didn't want to feel it. I didn't want to say it because there's this weird thing about feelings, especially men of our age. Like we just don't, like you just said. I didn't grow up talking about that. You didn't talk about it. You didn't talk about what went on at home.
Yeah. Trickle down effects of the generations before us.
It is.
I had this, you worked in the recovery field for a while.
Oh, yeah, still do. Yeah.
I had a drug and alcohol addiction. I had to go to a recovery place and seek help, and stayed a long time there. Praise God, I met Jesus there and haven't had to use since. I say that to say this. I remember sitting down with the man who I was going to do my testimony with. This was across the table from each other. And you have to make a deep moral inventory. Mm-hmm. And I made this. I thought, I was ready. And I had spent days writing down every little very bad, awful thing I ever did to anybody. And I had chapters. And I brought it in, and I sit across, this man's name was Jack. Great man. And I sit across, I start reading them. Let's say I had 80 separate things I had written down. We get about 4 in, and he goes, I think I got the picture. I thought I was going to blow this old man away. He's 76 years old at the time. Yeah. I'm thinking he's going to be like, by number 2, he's going to be like, you got to get that. You're not welcome here, bro. But he's listening. He's shaking his head. Get 4 in, and he goes, I got the idea. And he goes, are we ready to give this up to Jesus? And I was like, hold up. I got a bunch more stuff here. Wait till you hear page 5. And he's like, no. I think we got the thing here. And I always expected him to be blown away. And I think I expected so many people to be blown away by the truth of the way I felt inside and
how bad you were,
how bad I was, all these very bad, awful things I was willing to do to stay high. Yeah. And he wasn't shocked by a thing. And none of it blew him away, I think, because in his own heart, he had become understanding of the blackness inside of him, the darkness inside of him that could exist or did exist. And that's another piece to it, too. It's, we think we won't be able to be related to, and we'll be rejected.
Yeah, it's the shame talking. I think we always I'm always expecting people to give me what I think I deserve.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm gonna tell you my list of 80 things, and you're gonna be horrified, and
you're finally gonna give it to me the way I deserve to get it the whole time.
Validate it.
All my inner suspicions and beliefs of how much I suck, you are going to look at me and confirm it.
Yep.
People are like, "No, man, it's cool, love you," and you're like, "Wait, what?" Like,
hold up.
Which is a total different type of vulnerability.
And then things like, how did you get to that?
But it's a total different type of vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
Because now I'm like this might be a little side, but how much more vulnerable does that feel, right? Because it's like,
oh, now I'm totally naked,
dude. Well, because it's like, dude, wait a second. I am so much more comfortable if you get on the bandwagon and tell me how much I suck.
Yeah, can we dwell in that place?
And you're over here, you're like, hey man, I love you. I think you're doing great. And I'm like, now I'm really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Bro.
Well, you almost start thinking, I certainly did, like, now what do you want from me?
Yeah.
Now you probably want something from me. That's why you're still being nice.
When do we get back to the part where we can talk about how much I suck?
Yeah.
That's my,
Yeah, because
like,
everybody else my whole life has told me that I've surrounded myself with has told me how bad I suck. So just
And
get
I
in line
just
with
know
everybody
me-
else because I know that space. It's not comfortable. I don't like it, but I know those roads. So I just want to stay there.
which makes it more comfortable than this place of really being seen and loved. Like,
Yes.
being really seen and loved, man, is really uncomfortable.
It's uncharted territory.
Like,
Yeah.
can I go like scripture for a second?
Please.
And I was talking about this with some guys in the retreat, man. You know, I said like, and we end up talking about like, I mean, these parts of us that like we don't think are like lovable, like acceptable, right? They're in there for all of us, right?
Yes.
And so I think like, you know, and we can kind of circle back to like the need to actually gain some emotional language, you know, because I think that's huge as to why we can't name loneliness, but also like that hesitancy to feel like to name it and feel cared for is almost more painful and uncomfortable than, you know, than just like living in it. And I was talking to a buddy the other day, and he was telling me, we were talking about his story and how he was feeling kind of about himself. And it made me think of like the prodigal, because I think where I connect to like the prodigal is like when the prodigal's coming back, you know, and before, you know, the prodigal returns, he like rehearses his speech. You know, because he's got his like, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. Woe is me, yada yada. And as he's coming back, the father sees him from a long way off. So the father was watching for him, obviously,
And ran to him.
You know, runs to him, doesn't care about his speech,
Blows right past the speech.
blows right past the speech. And I saw like in my head, like I just where I connected to, I'm like, I imagine like me being like, no, let me tell you how sorry I am and all the bad things I did. And the father's like, I don't really care, right? And then the father's like doing like the robe and the ring and the sandals and I just imagine, for me, I imagine like that feeling of being loved had to have been so incredibly uncomfortable to like have that put on and then like dragged into the feast when you're still going, no, man, this isn't for me. I'd be more comfortable if you see me as bad as I see myself. But I think that, I mean, especially like in our Christian communities, I think that plays into, it's like, man, I don't know. It's really hard. Like, it's hard to sit with you and build like depth and like intimate vulnerability with you when I hate the pieces of me that feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
But that's really like, that's what we need. That's what we needed when we grew up that many of us didn't get enough of, whether our parents did the best they could or not.
Yep.
You know, those spaces that it's like, no, man, I really feel like all of me is kind of welcome and loved and cared for. And that helps us gain like, you know, a willingness to go, man, okay, I can enter into that with you. You know what I mean? You and I had breakfast and like we were, you know, down and dirty in 20 minutes and it was great. But we've probably spent
talk
years
about how
doing
strange that was. That was an empty restaurant, and one other guy comes in and they literally sit him like like closer than
Closer.
you and I.
Yeah.
Like he and I are trying to have
nobody
this, like,
else in the whole restaurant.
My favorite.
and they sit him just with it. I'm like, well, do you want to just step it in and be part of our conversation as we just?
Yeah, I was wondering if he was going to jump in.
It was so strange to me that restaurants do that. It's like I'm just going to sit you on
weird.
top of each other. There's three of you in here, and it's like.
You might as well hang out.
I know, man. It's so strange that they do that. How much do you think it is when in that situation for men that they just don't feel worthy though? Like I don't feel, because my expectation is that I'm just going to get beat down, and so I just don't feel worthy to be able to even tell you this because when I see you as this pillar, right?
Yeah.
Again, you're good. I'm not.
Right, and so I don't want to share this because I don't feel worthy to be able to even sit across from you and have this conversation because I obviously don't love Jesus the way that you love Jesus, or I'm not worthy of his forgiveness like you're worthy of his forgiveness.
Yeah. And so we have those impressions in part because of the ways of the community, how we've experienced community in the past. If everybody looks like they have it all together, right, then internally I know I don't.
Yes.
So if everybody looks like they have it all together, then I'm going to feel even less free to kind of be a mess, right? And I think, I mean, we can kind of go, okay, if we don't have it all together, then at least like it's like this beautiful redemption story,
Yeah.
as opposed to like, no, man, like life's a mess. Like you can have it all together for a decade, and then it's a train wreck, and whatever, man. Stuff happens.
Yeah.
But we don't approach it that way. But if I see it that way, then how do I engage that? Like, how do I feel comfortable?
Which is my opposition to high church, right? Because the place that I'm supposed to go to find what we're talking about right now, I can't, because everybody that shows up there is wearing their Sunday best, and everybody's giving me their fine. Even though just on the drive there and the wife had a blowout fight, and the kids are screaming in the back of the car, and then they all walk in and everybody's smiling like everything's just fine. And so there's not even a space that's even created for me to be able to even begin to unload everything that I just experienced this week. And so it's just this fake version of Christianity.
Which I would say, just as, I can feel my little desire to defend high church here for a second.
Yeah.
I experienced that in, just like mega church culture now. It's the same thing. But also, it is not lost on me that I grew up as a Baptist kid, now I've been, 12 years in our little hipster church with probably the same 80 people that we've had rolling for 11, 12 years. It's great. I love it. It took me 8 years to convince my buddy who's the pastor to get a sign. And even now it only is out there for like 20 minutes. It's not lost on me that like when I was in college, there were these like little 75, 80-year-old Anglican ladies, and the priests with all the things and all the stuff and everything. And these ladies would like love me, and I'd go up front and kneel down and take communion, and they'd come over and they'd put their hand on my head and like pray for me. And I'm like, holy crap, man.
I should be careful of the way that I explain that, because I'm not saying that it's all like that, and I need to be careful, because you're right, it happens that way, and we see it in the mega church. But
it shows up all across.
It does. I just had a conversation with a guy this week about grace, because grace is we have 6 service times, and our service times are packing out. We have people sitting in the lobby now, so there's growth to that, and so there is an aspect of mega church that can be dangerous too, because people can just show up and leave, and so there's never. So you have to be willing to step in and be like, I am willing to put myself out here, and not just show up on the weekends. The other challenging part about mega church is like, how do you stop it? So what are we just supposed to say? You come in. Sorry, doors are closed. Everybody else needs to leave and go somewhere else.
Yeah. And I think it's just people in general too. The other thing you made me think of is like, I run all my interactions through like the filter of how I see myself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that's all the more reason why like we need these places where like the safety you guys describe that you have on the boat. I want to go fishing, by the way. The safety you guys have on the boat, like that's what I wish for guys. Like
yes,
I feel uncomfortably fortunate the amount of guys that I feel that with.
Yep.
My buddy Keith, I met Keith the first week that we came to seminary. I think because we both were like, hey, we're kind of like both surfers and nobody else looks like us in this room. And he helped run the retreat with me. And so it was pretty funny because we're talking to all these pastors about like needing to like be able to walk into these vulnerable, heavy places with each other in each other's lives. And we're like up front, like just having a bromance for 3 days. Cause I'm like, yeah. And Keith said this to me 16 years ago. And then Aaron said this to me 12 years ago. And we're like,
aren't we awesome?
And then the way home, we're like, dude, let's just stop and surf for 3 hours. So we stopped and surfed together for 3 hours.
That's hilarious, because the experience that he and I will have at church is, we're both ushers. And so at the beginning of the service, we get there early. And so he and I will just be back there, rapping about everything that we got going on, joking, having fun, and there's this whole group of people that likes to come around and just kind of listen, because they want to be a part of that. They want to know the inside baseball.
Yeah.
Right, and so there is a part of that where you have to kind of be aware too that hey, there's other people in the room here too. But it is great to have friendship like that where you can just show up and just have that instant.
Which and that's the hope. And I think for guys listening, I want to be sensitive to the fact that some dudes are sitting going, man, I don't have. I'm the
1 in 4 don't
I'm
have
the
it.
percentage that I don't feel like anybody knows me.
Yeah.
And then there's also some guys that are like, oh no, I got tons of friends. Like, there was a dude that said this week.
What's the depth of all those?
Thank you.
friends?
Yeah, there was a guy this past week, that I had spoken with that was telling me, just going through a ton of difficult stuff, and I'm like, man, have you talked to, and they're like, yeah, I got some really good friends. I'm like, how many have you talked to about this? And it's like, I guess I haven't. right?
Yep.
So like there's that, like we can kind of go, man, I feel like I have all these good friends, but I'm not actually really experiencing being known. Or, you know, no, man, I'd love that, but I don't have that. And again, like I'm kind of circling back, like I don't think, I would say this for people listening, to me, like that being known is not just about like, oh, we got to talk about deep, dark stuff.
No.
It's about like, hey man, this is kind of like all of me. And there's times when I want to show you this room, this front room in my house, because it's really fun. This is where like we can hang out and like, you know, chill or whatever. And there's other times when I'm like, hey man, there's some stuff in the back room. And
Well, yeah.
we kind of need to be able to do that.
To walk into my basement, you must walk through my house first.
Ooh, I love that, dude. That's great.
So let's walk around up here on the first level, and then I might invite you into my den or whatever. You know, it's like these things have to happen. So we'll explore some topics, and that's how any good.
All are parts of you. Like
Well,
the
there you
hanging out, you know, bro on the boat, chill, like laughing.
Yes.
To me, that is just as core as these heavier pieces, but we need it all.
Yes.
But we started on the bro on the boat, right? That's the whole part of it. It starts the bro on the boat. It starts the bro on the surfboard. It starts the bro wherever on the golf course, wherever
wherever
at.
that is, because there's different versions of that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's guys listening to this that are like, I don't have what it takes to be a bro. Look at these dudes. They're
Yeah,
like,
bro culture is
I mean,
definitely
all three of them
a thing.
obviously are like super jacked up. You know, like I don't fit there. Why are you laughing? That's so mean. No, but like, there's you know guys that are like, I don't know how to do this, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it just varies. Like, I mean, yeah, man, I love that. I obviously, like, you guys bring me on this and I start rambling and talking, but
That's why we brought you on.
I so believe that like we are built for these spaces, whether they're difficult or not,
Yeah.
and we need it, right?
Yeah, it's essential.
Like we need it. I think there's a guy, this writer Boyd Vardy, there's a quote I was thinking about this week. He said, "Men are meant to be in harm's way together," and I was like, man, that is so true. And then the thing that it made me think is I was like, gosh, dude, we just have such a weird definition of harm's way.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, dude, I'd rather like us like do some, I mean, most of us, if we're honest, I'm like, I'd rather do like some really dangerous stuff
Yeah.
than like us talk about how I feel in my marriage if like my marriage is in a bad season.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But I'm like, that's harm's way.
Yeah.
Like the definition of us being in harm's way together are the places that are out of control and scare us and make us uncomfortable. That's where we're meant to be together.
Yes.
Whether it is like a firefight in Afghanistan or just the territory of my heart, all of them are treacherous.
Yes.
And so we're meant to be in that together. I mean, when I was in seminary, man, we used to debate like how do you do this? How do you bring this? And I was like, and I think I got to a place where I was like, man, you know what? My role is I'm supposed to play this role for this 55 minutes, like with this person, if we're doing like counseling, you know, in that way, right?
Okay.
And partly what it means for me to play my role is for me to be me and me not to be God.
Yeah.
And so if we go all the way back to like how we approach, like we hate vulnerability because we want to like fix people, think we have to fix people. Well, I mean, we do the same thing like with scripture. I got to give you this because I really want God to like be like vending machine Jesus. And if you put your money in, you hit the right buttons, you get the right things.
Yep.
And so we want to do that with people. And naturally, like I'd love it if like life worked that way. Just
Right.
if we're all honest, it doesn't work that way, you know. But I have found this incredible freedom to go, man, what is being asked of me with this person or these people or this situation that I am in?
Yeah.
And what does it look like? And this is just like me, the lens that I think personally. And honestly, this is how I think of like me coaching my son's baseball team. And this is how I think of me as counselor versus how me at 1010 Project versus if I get asked to come speak to whatever. I'm going, man, what does it look like for me to be faithful to the role I'm being asked to play right now? And there's always an element where it's like, man, I'm being faithful to my role as a human in this. And I'm trusting that God's going to be God.
Great.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And that kind of, like that has been very helpful for me because that allows me to go, man, you know what? Like, that's how I sleep at night, to tell you the truth. That's the only way that I've been able to like keep the anxiety at bay and sleep at night and not go, oh my gosh, this person's struggling with this. Are they okay at 11 o'clock? Oh man, my kids are struggling with this. Are they okay? Like I can feel that stuff back there.
Yeah.
But to have to go, man, in living as a
king's still on his throne.
vulnerable, fragile human, we are like the most fragile creatures on the face of the earth, ironically enough, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, we are helpless at birth. There's probably like a reason, something to teach us there, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we go, man, God's good. And I get to play in this world and I get to play some roles that he has given me to play. But I get to play them the way hopefully like kids get to fish and play sports, man. We get to go, man, this is really fun.
Yeah.
And thank God that I do not have to be in control of all of it.
There's the mentor I spoke about, Jack. He had this saying, it's a philosophy I live by. And it gives me a lot of freedom rather than needing to always quote scripture. He just said, let it look good on you. And what he was always talking about is like the fruit of a relationship with Christ is going to be so much more valuable than any scripture I can quote. It's the peace when things are crazy. It's the confidence that I'm given that when in that crisis that the king is still on the throne.
Yeah.
And
you get to trust him in that.
Exactly. It's the trust. And it's so then on the other side of conflict, the people that are involved with me in that, whatever that is, that you called it the battle, I think, or something to that effect.
Just being in harm's way.
Harm's way. On the other side, when harm is now past and we're in a peaceful place together, they go, yo, you are something else.
Yeah.
What was that? How'd you do that? Where'd you get that? How'd you get there?
Yeah.
And there's the opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean,
so I don't what I'm saying is you don't always have to lead. And I think rarely do you have to lead, in fact, with Scripture. Scripture is great, and it's powerful. It's a word of God.
For sure.
It's necessary. But when somebody's in flux, it's rarely the most useful thing I've found in my tool belt is to start quoting Scripture. Now, I can quote Scripture as I'm praying for them, but like to be just giving them a piece and saying, meditate on that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Which I mean that like if I'm doing that, like it's a space of like, man, am I doing it because I'm trying to get you somewhere else?
Yeah, I think yes.
All the way back
Again,
to like,
I'm trying to escape.
Am I trying to get you somewhere because I'm uncomfortable with you in this place?
Yeah,
so
I'm trying to get you to follow the rules.
Let's get you better. Let's get you better. Like, I mean, I grew up listening to that. Like, Jesus loves you too much. He loves you right where you're at, but he loves you too much to leave you there. And I'm like, what does that mean now at this point? And I mean, and I've said that tons of times. So I mean, I'm not dogging you might have said that, but Keith and I were talking about that this week. Just that, even that, what does that do for us if I come to Jesus and then 15 years later I end up in like deep depression?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
is it on me?
Yeah, like that.
Am I lovable
life
now?
Happens.
Does Jesus not love me anymore?
Is it my fault that I got
Am I
here?
faithful anymore?
And what does it mean that I can't get myself out? There must be something. But like, no, man. Like, of course we look for those things, but like, life is hard and life happens. I mean, that's why I love the idea of going, man. We don't have to live in kind of that loneliness. Like we're built to kind of need other people because it is that way.
So how do you get somebody to resist isolation and choose connection instead then?
I mean, I think part of it is going, man, like what are like you were describing, like what are like small next steps? And I find it's also helpful to go, man, there's a part of us that we hate vulnerability. We hate things that make us feel uncomfortable, and they create all kinds of narratives in our head. Well, I can't go do this because I'm going to suck at it. I can't go do this because, I don't have, like, I'm not as cool as those guys, so I don't fit there, whatever. But I believe there are people who will understand. Right. And and it's like, society sucks, man. Like that it is so hard to find. So like for people listening, I respect that and I honor that, because nothing we're saying, as much as like, we may go, man, I got all these guys now. I'm aware. I feel uncomfortably fortunate. Like,
I've certainly met
it
guys
is
in the last
freaking hard.
I've
Yeah.
met guys in the last few years where I thought, man, that dude's cool. And like I go out of my way and they go out of their way. And the connection just doesn't happen too.
Yeah, it's hard, man. It is
Yeah.
hard. And that's not even talking about the fact that like then, you know, you get married, you have kids, and it's like, when do I go out? Like
Jeez.
why do like, and a lot of dudes like, well, I mean, and obviously like there's even interesting discussions to be had about like, you know, the fact that, you know, I've experienced wives not super supportive of dudes having friends, maybe because they're, you know, being idiots together. But also I'm like, man, hey, your husband having solid like brothers and relationships, even your husband playing softball on a Monday night. I said play softball on Monday nights. Like they will be better men for that.
Yes.
Thank you.
They will be able to have a
Like-
better relationship with you.
Oh gosh,
wife,
yes.
If he has a good friendship with another man.
And they will be better dads.
Yes.
And they will probably live longer.
Ooh.
And be healthier.
Yes.
It goes back to
Like-
iron sharpens iron. You know, it's old cliche of a Bible verse, but it goes back to that. There's a reason why that verse is there, is because I want to. If my desire is to be better, then it is a necessity that I have found in my life that I have to have other people that I'm doing life with that are my peers, that have gone through or are going through what I'm going through right now. Those are the ones that I'm going to glean from the most. I also think it's imperative that we also have people younger than us that we're sharing those life experiences
sure.
with as well. Because if we're not teaching the next generation, because maybe you didn't have a
They,
dad there,
they
or
benefit from you.
absolutely they do. It goes back to what the lady said to you, is like, you're going to suck for the first 5 years. You just don't know anything, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But 20 years later, you know some things.
Yeah.
And so now you're able to speak that truth and that life into people that are younger than you now.
And that like if I can sound like a therapist for a second,
Please.
like that stuff
Hold on, let me get my
plays
chair.
out. Yeah, lay out. That plays out on like I need dudes who have been through what I've been through. Like that's true. But also, man, there's just something for feeling safe with people.
Yeah.
You know, like
There's a confidence that you get.
well, and that's it's a good thing. Like it's a good thing. Like I mean, I joke about it just because we just started our old man softball season, you know, at Lake Fairview. So I mean, we're gonna play on Monday night. Like I missed the game last week. I was sad to miss the game. Right? We lose pretty much every time. But there's something that happens. Like, and again, I'm not like super tight with all those dudes. But man, even in my body and in my nervous system, good things happen when we're sitting on a truck tailgate in the parking lot after the game, laughing about what just happened, or talking about, you know, so-and-so's this or so-and-so's that, and then asking about if, you know, so-and-so's getting the new job or whatever. Us doing that, like things happen in me neurologically, physiologically, that let me feel seen and safe. And they change when that stuff happens. That changes the way that I perceive the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Right. And so even just like, I mean, I go back to like you guys sitting on the boat. You took a 20-year-old, 25-year-old from church and set him on the boat with y'all. And he's gonna be like, well, I'm on the boat with these dudes. They're not talking. They're not talking. And he's going to probably be like super uncomfortable for the first 2 hours that you're not talking. And then at some point later on, it will just happen for him that he will settle in and it'd be like, oh my gosh, whether he realizes it or not, like y'all have like helped like regulate this dude's nervous system to feel safe.
Jeez.
And there's something really true about like, it is, you can tell me all day that I'm loved, man. You can tell me all day that I'm loved. But like, if I don't feel it,
Yes.
If you haven't shown it to me.
and if I don't feel it,
Yeah.
you can show it to me, but if I don't feel it, then I don't really get to believe it. You
Yeah.
know, like that's like, and so like, whether it's with older folks our age, younger, whatever, like that kind of like that to me, that's why it's worth doing the work to find the people on
Boy,
any
what you
level.
just said there is so invaluable for people to hear, though. This all takes work.
Oh, it is work, dude.
It takes time,
Yes.
and it takes you vulnerability. And how often do people hijack it because in the first meeting they don't get the feelings and they don't get everything that they're expecting to get out of that. And so instead of just spending the time, they're just like, well, I guess that's not the right person. And it's like, just
Or, you know,
relax.
if you haven't experienced this kind of opportunity to share with a peer, in a long time, you might feel like you need to get it all out.
So much you don't even know where to go.
You don't know where to go, and it's chaos, and then it's over too soon, and then you're kind of left just kind of
I get that. Yeah.
in flux still because you didn't quite hash it out, and it's like, do it again, and do it again, and do it again, and keep showing up, and keep trying to set these things up for yourself. And it does take a few times. Again, like, when I first came into relationship with Jesus, I was on fire. I couldn't stop talking about it all the time. I had suffered under such great personal harm
Oh,
that the
makes
freedom
a lot
I
of
was
sense.
finally experiencing, I was off the chain.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
obnoxious, frankly. And a great man, a pastor, Pastor Gary Ridgway, not the serial killer, he said, "Hey, Johnny,
that's such a great clarifier. I'm so
Always we talk about
people need to know,
Pastor
Green
Gary.
River Killer.
Okay.
It's not Pastor Gary Ridgway. Different Gary
different.
Ridgway.
Okay. That's
He said, man, I love your fire for Jesus, but can I give you a piece of advice? I said, sure. He's a very blunt speaker. He said, why don't you shut up for a while? Yeah. And he goes, oh, Johnny, you're a smart guy. And he went about being kind and feeding me a little sugar. You're a smart guy. You're capable of learning a lot of things, but you don't know much right now. Why don't you sit back and listen to some of the other folks talk, kind of collect on how this thing works. I love your fire. Be enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Be happy that Jesus has you. Talk to God. But like in these greater settings, sit back, check out what's happening, learn some stuff. You'll have your time to speak. And he was so right, man. And it really helped me out, in that blunt talk that we sometimes need to be able to take a second, like start absorbing what works.
well, and there's like a freedom in there where it's like I
Big
don't
time.
have to do this.
Yes.
I can just be here. I don't
Yes.
have to like get everybody to hear this, do it.
Well, you were telling that story earlier about those guys that they were up until 4 o'clock in the morning sitting in the hot tub just
There
sharing
it
their
is.
whole life. I think that the other side danger of that is that you've created this amazing experience day one, and now every experience you have after that doesn't quite come to the level that did. And
Yeah,
so
you
now
get
you're
the
like,
dopamine hit off it.
yeah, I guess we weren't as close friends as we thought we were. Let's just, keep looking. I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm saying there is a reality of that building of a long-term relationship and friendship is going to be long-term over time. So set the right expectations when I'm coming into communication with you of where we want this thing to go.
Even a friendship can have like a honeymoon phase. Is
For
what
sure
we're
they
saying.
can.
Yeah.
For sure they can.
Well, and I think like when you guys say that, like what I think of is I'm like, one of the things I would want people to hear is like you have all kinds of needs, right? Like
Yes.
like, we need some of those deep relationships, and also we need some dudes that maybe we're just broing down, you
Yes.
know, like that. And,
I have to have
like
I have to have that.
I mean, I mean,
it can't be all serious all
some
the
of the
time.
guys I'm saying I have guys that I enjoy the crap of. Enjoy the crap out of, but like guys that I really, really, really like just enjoy. We have a blast, and we don't necessarily talk that deep.
Yeah.
And some of them, I gotta get. I don't know if we ever will, and that's okay.
Yes.
And some of those dudes are the dudes most like me for some reason or another. Man, we're like we kind of live on that like top third. It's cool. And then other dudes, I'm like we can step in and out of all of it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's okay too. Like I think we need
So
a
you're just saying
lot
there's
of
no
those
rules
different places.
to that. There's no rules to it.
I'm saying yes, dude. We
And to set false expectations then can be disappointing.
well, and it's like or I mean, if we're going into it thinking like this is somewhere to get. Right.
Say it
I mean, That's
again.
the same thing
That
that
is
we were
so
talking
good.
about when we started. Like, if it's like, okay, hey, well, you know what? Like, it's not about the accountability group. It's not about the 3 points of scripture. Now it's about building relationships. Well, then I'm just going, well, the thing will happen where if I'll do the vulnerability and I'll build the deep relationships and then I'll get there.
And I'll be complete. We talked about this before we got started.
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking in my head.
If you want to work out, you work out for a month and you start building a little bit of muscle tone, and 6 months in, you're pretty good. You don't then stop and then continue to be strong and physically fit. If you stop, it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So you have to continue to do it to continue to keep the results that you want. The same thing's applicable with the friendship or with any of these experiences that we're talking about, relationships, is you have to continue working those muscles.
And the hardest, and I think it's like you continue working those muscles, but but the journey is the destination.
Yes. Great.
Okay. So like, think about it this way. Like,
Say that again.
the journey is the destination. Like, we are oriented towards always trying to get somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, we're always trying. And I would say there is a part of us that like, we're always trying to become acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're always, even those of us that have experienced like Jesus and really get it, there's still this part of us that's like, but maybe I can get more lovable down the road, and I'll get somewhere where I can get more loved, right? Like, you know, when I conquer this sin, when I do this thing, when my business gets here, when my marriage gets here, I'll be there. And I'm not saying those are bad things to like grow towards or hope for, but there will always be something else.
Well,
Right?
that's the
Like, you guys talk about like your mentor. He knows this. I'm sure he knows this.
Of course he
there
does.
will always be something else that comes. So I think what I'm such a big fan of is, man, there's just a better way to do it. And there's a freedom that comes from like, this is where I'm at today. And of course, we're trying to become more fully ourselves, because the more I become fully human, the more I actually become more closer to God's image, and the more I become who God made me to be.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I get to live in my whole house? And some people come over and we eat in the front room. Some people come over and I'm like, hey, there's some stuff I should probably show you out in the backyard. And other people, they come over and they've been in every room, but it's okay, you know, and we get to live that way.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, man, we're just on this journey. And then sometimes on the journey, you get these like little waypoints where you step up and you're like, man, this is way better than it used to be.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
crap.
Yes.
And then you, oh, man, this is way better than it used to be. Oh, man, this is way better. But that's worth pushing through the vulnerability and the discomfort to build. But I think we tend to, you know, you often hear it said like how we do one thing is typically how we do everything. So when we're trying to like, okay, I'm going to get better, then it's like, I'm gonna be really good at vulnerability with the hope that somewhere inside of me is going, man, if I get really good, these guys are telling me I need to be vulnerable and build male friendships. Well, if I do it right, eventually I won't have to be vulnerable anymore. And I'm
Sure.
and I think that just is never gonna work.
No. Again, you have to continue exercising this.
Pastor Mike always says, I am not who I am. I'm who I am becoming.
Yes.
Right. So there's this perpetual state of becoming throughout my
Yes.
entire life. We live in
Sinking
this.
deeper into it.
It is. Well, we live in this materialistic society where it's like, if I get to this neighborhood, I get this car, I get this bank account, I get this wife, I get this job. If my kid makes this team, then I've somehow reached that level of success where I'm going to feel fulfilled.
Completion.
And then everybody who gets to that level goes, I don't feel any better than I did before I got
And in
to that.
fact,
So
I
now
gotta-
I'm going to set it up even higher.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm always chasing this.
And if those are the things you're chasing, you will feel more vacant.
Always. Bible says, don't have any other gods before me, right? So
Right.
this is idolatry state that we constantly live in here today. And so the knowledge of us knowing the Bible is to be able to wrestle and fight against that, to know that none of those things were ever designed to fulfill me.
And
Yeah.
all of those that you just listed are all incredibly isolating
Gosh.
because they're all individualistic.
Oh,
Yep.
jeez.
Like everything like you guys just
It's an
described.
individual effort, and it's an individual achievement.
And if anybody else is really involved, it's in service of the end goal.
There it is.
Not believing that, hey, no, man, the value just exists because somehow, for some reason, God made us where when we actually like look at each other and like feel safe, God made me where like things happen neurologically for me that tell my nervous system that I am safe.
Yeah.
And that like, and then if that's not godly stuff that happens in healthy, like being seen and cared for interactions, I don't know what is, man. Like that's like, God made us that way. We are built for that. We're built to live in the village. You know, we're not alone on the island. Like that's.
Let me ask you this. Is there a difference between loneliness and being alone?
Yeah, we should probably think
That's a
about that.
great question.
It's a good question. Like I think, well, I mean, all of us experience loneliness.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think like the fact that like that kind of became the catchphrase over the past 10 years was based on a couple studies that they used that like male loneliness. Right.
Okay.
But all of us, like if we think back over the past few weeks, you had some point where you felt lonely. Right. I mean, I'm just assuming y'all did. Like y'all,
Sure.
you guys are fairly connected with what's happening in like your internal world. If we think about it, we can identify. I'm 99% sure we'd be able to identify.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
it's not all that bad. But if we live in that space where that is our norm,
Yeah.
right? Then we're talking like emotional isolation. And that's very different, right? So if I encounter loneliness, what do I do if I'm feeling really lonely? I actually reach out to people.
Of course.
Yeah.
If I'm feeling really lonely and either I don't have anyone to reach out to or I can't cross that chasm to reach out, then I have a problem.
Or even if I'm feeling really lonely, I'm trying to assess what's causing this and who's my best outlet to try to speak with now,
Yeah.
because it might be my wife.
Let me step into this in some way.
Or it might be my homie. And it's that's my initial step. I'm thinking is like, I'm going, is this a man thing or is this a husbandry thing?
Yeah, so you feel it and then you try and figure out, okay,
Yes.
what's the need?
But the cool thing is I can even be sort of peaceful in it because I know that I've already developed these connections and these relationships that I have that outlet.
Yeah.
You know, so rather than what you're saying with this isolationism, where you then maybe don't have any outlets.
Yes.
So this only will perpetuate greater and deeper fear.
Yeah.
I have these outlets so that, yes, I'll feel lonely and certainly have in the last few weeks. And in those places, it's like, wait, what's going on here? Where am I? Who can I speak to about this?
So you have some fixed points that remind you,
Yes, sir.
right?
How much of that is fear of rejection?
Oh, I mean, probably huge. I mean, fear of rejection, like the shame voices, the believing that I'm not worthy. Like we all have that to some degree or other, right? Of
course.
Like we all have these things that it's like, and sometimes it's like actions. Like if I tell you this thing is going to be the thing that causes you to be like, "Phew, no way,
That's
man,
too
I'm out
much."
of here, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just this feels too overwhelming, or I don't feel like I have any clue how to engage and do this because I never have, right?
But as a fact of how to do this, if you know you are a person that has this action you've done, this thing you've done where you're going, this will be the deal breaker, then that's probably not going to be the thing you want to lead with when you're going into building a relationship with somebody anyways.
Probably not. That's why I say, like, I think, like, in terms of, like, next step, like, what does it look like to just go, man, hey, like, because sometimes the path of, like, the path of vulnerability and discomfort sometimes can be a little bit like the lighted path where you're like, that might be a direction to go, where it's like, hey, man, I can feel this part of me that goes, hey, I think it'd be really, I think I would really like to hang out with that group of guys.
Yeah.
The thought of calling them makes my skin crawl.
Sure.
Well, it might be worth dropping a text. Like, what's the step
Yeah.
that just gets me a little bit down the road? And from like a faith perspective, I'm going, hey, God, I'm going to trust you that I can walk into vulnerable spaces. Because everything, like when we talk about like, how do I do this? I need to know this, I need to know this. Some of that is understandable, right? Because it's like, man, just to engage a conversation, if I haven't had that, that's new territory. There's also that space in us where, I mean, we really believe like, if I'll learn how to do this.
So are
You know,
there
and it doesn't
some
exist.
are there some daily, weekly, monthly practices a guy could take that will help him kind of avoid isolation and then maybe even choose, you know, to be in friendship and choose relationships?
Yeah. Good question. I mean, I think, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we have to begin to think about like the next step, right? And so I mean, my brain kind of drops in categories. So like, let's go this way. Like next step wise, you know, if I'm kind of going, hey man, I don't want to be isolated, which when we talk about epidemic of male loneliness, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And remembering that, like, I mean, I don't know if we said this, but I think it's important to note, like, proximity doesn't equal intimacy. But at the end of the day, if we don't have intimacy, like I feel like you know me, I'll go, well, proximity is better than nothing. I mean, bad love's always feels better than no love at all.
Okay.
Right? But we're built for something a little deeper. So being able to go, man, I can think, well, if I want to, you know, make sure that I'm finding some sense of connection, then there might be a next step that really practically puts me in the way of people. You're right. So, I mean, at church, that might mean, okay, the next step might mean that I sign up for something that I'm only moderately interested in.
Men's steak
and
night.
kind of annoyed.
Right.
But like, you know what? I'm just going to show up.
Yep.
And maybe I show up trusting that, God says somehow being in relationship with people are good. And also scientists and researchers seem to point to that me being around other people is a good thing. So I'm going to just have faith in that, and I'll show up and put myself in these spaces.
Yeah, we have a men's steak night.
Yeah,
I'm saying,
so, like-
at our church, and it's like myself. It's like, all right, I'm gonna stand in the back. When Andy's done speaking, then I'll skirt around everybody and chat with Andy. I'm not, despite our great conversation that we can have here, I get in a big group of guys, and it's not.
You've gotten so much better at it. Don't sell
Thank
yourself
you.
short on that,
Well,
man.
but it doesn't come innate to me.
Well, and dude, can I speak to that for a second?
Please.
Because I'm sensitive to the fact that for some dudes, man, some dudes are way more introverted than me, right? Which I will get to spaces where I'm like, man, you know what? I just need some alone time, and my wife's like, "Are you okay? What's going on?"
Yeah.
Like if I have buddies that are all going to hang out, if I'm like, "Hey man, guys, I'm just gonna stay home," somebody will usually text me or call me later and be like, "Are you all right?" Like I was just concerned. You turned down a hangout. I'm like, yeah, I'm all right, guys. But for some dudes, like, you're not trying to become somebody else. You're trying to, with a goal, man. To me, the goal is just that we become deeper who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of us, like, I can have like 8 dudes that really know my heart. And like one of my dreams is like, and one of the amazing things happen when I can get them all in the same place, even if they don't know each other. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
You'll
like this guy because I like him.
Oh yeah, totally. And I'm like, you guys talk. I'm like,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
The Wizard of Oz over there.
oh, dude, totally. But like, I'm aware for some guys, man, it's different. Like it's gonna show up differently.
Yeah.
So I think you look for what is the step for me. And for some people, that is like, hey man, you go to this coffee shop twice a week. Say hi to people. Like move towards human connection.
Yeah. It could be the person behind the counter, by the way, that serves you the coffee.
Like, and that's
hey,
what, like,
Joe,
dude,
gosh, you're here all the time.
Because you're kind of battling these shame messages that are internal. That's why I think one of the best ways we can do that is just, hey man, you know what? I'm here. Let me just say hey.
Yeah.
Because I know that I get nervous about asking them how their day is. Well, I'm going to do that one thing that makes me feel a little nervous.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start to wade into the pool.
And it can be a short engage. It can be that kind of that very short engagement. So you're not overcommitting yourself to some longer thing.
Yeah, dude. You don't got to dive. You don't got to dive into the deep into the pool here.
Yeah, you're dipping your toes.
I see this, what you're saying, because when we do the steak night we're talking about, I'm an extrovert of extroverts. Everybody's my best friend. I'm the guy that talks to people in the elevator. I'm the guy that talks to people at the grocery store. Just walk up this morning getting coffee, and the guy standing next to me's got dreads. I'm like, dude, how long did it take you to grow those out? I'm just going to talk to people. But I know that when we do this men's night, I like to stand back and watch. And there's a lot of guys that will come in that I just see standing all by themselves, right? And so it's working to try to engage them. But that so often is just their mode is they just don't feel equipped to be able to walk up. But it's so simple in our minds because we do it all the time. But for them, it can be like crippling for them to thought that I got to walk up to somebody and go, hey, what's your name? How long you been here?
Well, let me also say this, Andy, and I think that this is important for people that are like you to know, is that you are a great bridge. You are the kind of guy that will see 2 separate guys. And because you've already opened yourself up to so many conversations, you might know a little bit about each guy. And you'll go, Brad over there would really get along with Jamal.
Yeah.
And I'm going to connect those two.
Yeah.
So it does, if you are that kind of an extroverted person and you do have, you have a place to play too, which is to kind of be that bridge builder.
Yeah, help connect people.
So
For sure. I couldn't agree more.
It's not just the person who's isolated that if they've taken that first step, let's all step up then and try to
the first step and
engage.
showed up.
Yeah.
They showed up.
Yes.
For them, that's a huge thing if they just showed up.
It certainly was for me.
Oh, for sure it was.
So
It took me a long time to get you to show up.
this was the first year I went to men's trip. I've been going there for over a decade.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest. I drag my feet on stuff like that. It doesn't come naturally to me. So, yeah, but each time that I do, what do? I come back to you and I go, man, that was, that was really good for me. I really needed that. And you'll go, told you years ago. And I'll go, yeah, I wasn't ready years ago.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is okay.
Yep.
Like that's Like, I mean, you guys hear, like, I mean, all three of us keep going back to, like, hey, it's okay.
It's okay.
Because all that, like, well, I got to do this. I got to be this. I got to become this. It's like, no, man, like, it's okay. Like,
I want
the goal is to not be isolated.
You know, some of that too, though, is just like, I know for me personally, just speaking into that is because I want you to have what I have.
Yeah.
It's like sharing Christ with people. It's like, I don't want to be the overbearing guy, but I want you to have what I have. I want you to feel.
Well, that was me when I first found
what I
Jesus.
feel.
I wanted all these other guys that were in this treatment facility to have the freedom I was finally feeling. I knew the dark place they were in. I was like, you get there,
Like-
you know. And
Yeah.
But like, remember the Kool-Aid Man?
The Kool-Aid Man? Yeah.
He really looks like such a nice guy. But if you bust through your wall, he'd probably be scary as hell.
oh yeah, they do the clip on
So,
Family
like-
Guy. It's terrifying.
Shout out to Hastings, Nebraska, home of Kool-Aid.
Oh boy.
But like, just think, I'm just like, man, so what I'm saying is like, not like, don't be the Kool-Aid Man to somebody else, but don't do that to yourself.
yeah.
Like, I'm
That's good,
not
man.
going to like smash the wall down and create safety with people. Be
No.
like, okay, hey man, I'm going to go to the guy that sits next to me at the coffee shop and be like, hey, so this is what happened in my childhood. Like, I mean, come on, like that, like,
It's not what we're talking about.
it's not what we're talking about. But I think there's a space for us to go, man, I can take a deep breath and I can take a risk. I can take a deep breath and I can wade a little bit deeper. And that's weird for some of us that like are like really comfortable having deep conversations. I mean, I have felt at times for me where I'm like, man, probably the risk is to just go and like do like surface level, like everybody's like, I hate small talk. I'm like, well, for some of us need to do small talk. Like some of us need to be like, hey man, how's
the
work? How's your
weather?
kids? You gotta tell me about your garden, you know, like,
Hates.
but I'm just saying, like, that's like, I don't
You're
know,
into
man.
soccer.
Which is probably, which is, to be fair, probably why you
daughter's
never
team?
came to men's trip is because you were worried you had to have small talk with people.
I know. Oh, your daughter's softball team? Yo, so as we get closer to landing this plane here, man, I wanted to talk to you about how do you feel like Jesus went about modeling for for the guys in the gospel, like what true friendship looks like, what
Yeah.
true brotherhood looks like.
Man, okay, I love that question. Like I just think about like you know, in the Gospels, like they were just together all the time,
Yeah.
right? So obviously, like we have a lot of passages of like the things Jesus taught.
Yes.
Matthew
But-
5, Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah,
Give us,
all these things taught, right? But we don't have like, hey man, like remember the time on the road when Peter had to piss and then tripped down and fell in a ditch or whatever. I mean, I just that's not to be
Of course.
irreverent.
No, it's
anyway,
funny.
but like
we,
Yes.
we do have John saying,
all those things had
He
to
beat him in a
happen.
foot race.
yeah, John
Yeah.
talks to back on Peter that I was faster than you, right? So we do see little
like but I mean,
snippets
all
of
that stuff had to happen,
Yes.
and Jesus was there.
Yes.
Like a bunch of bros like on a boat. I mean, like who's puking over the side? Like all of these things happen.
Kurt.
So the stories are told.
Shout out to Kurt.
The stories are told like in the context of these people just in life, you know.
Yeah.
And so I think we assume that was all like welcome. You know.
I think
Which,
of
by the way,
when-
this is why I love the show The Chosen.
Yeah.
Even though there's a lot of extra biblical content there, you just got to see the humanity side of the
Yes.
disciples and Jesus interacting
Yeah.
and talking trash on each other, just
Yes.
having a good time connecting as brothers.
Yes, and so I think we see it modeled in that. I think Jesus models like the way that he spends time with people. Also moves towards time in solitude.
Yes.
Right. And remember, solitude is different than isolation.
Yeah.
Right.
Talk about that.
Like, well, I mean, I can choose solitude. I mean, that's something that I realized over the years. If you ask my wife how I was in college and early marriage, she'd be like, you couldn't be alone. Right. Maybe I could have, but I didn't know how. And it never occurred to me that it would be a good thing.
I struggle with that.
Whereas now I'm like, no, man, like I have to give it to myself. I will pursue it. I will crave it. I'll find avenues for it. So I think like, we think like that sense is really, really, really good because we're choosing to be in a space that can cultivate and create like healing, growth, whatever we need. Right.
Yeah.
And Jesus obviously did that. Like Jesus went away by himself multiple times. I'm sure many more times. I assume many more times than we read about.
Yeah.
you know. But also there was this like, kind of that coming and going. Like we're engaged. We're going to have deep conversation. We're also just going to cook some fish. I'm also going to pull off and take care of myself. We're also going to step back in, So I think there's a fluidity to it that to me is something to go, man, how do we pursue that? Like, hey, how can we, like, I think of like a few of my friends where it's like, hey, I need to talk. I'm going to come over. We're going to sit in the backyard. We're going to kind of go deep.
Yeah.
And then we're going to pull out of that. And that's okay. So, I mean, I think like to me that like that flow that you see like in Jesus' life with people, I think Jesus modeled that. Like 1 minute I'm dropping some heavy stuff on you, and like I think of like one of my favorite chapters is John 6. Where Jesus is teaching, and then it gets through and it says, and after that, at that point, many of the disciples no longer followed him.
Right.
And then Peter's like, well, this is a very difficult teaching, because and then Jesus is like, well, what about you? Are you going to leave too? And Peter's like, this is how I always read it. Peter's like, well, where else am I going to go? You have the words of eternal life. So this is really hard and I don't understand what you just said, but I'll stick around. But I think like in that like sense of like, hey man, really hard moment. Hey, what about you? You gonna stick? I guess
you are the way, the truth,
no offense,
and the life.
Peter, if that's not, but like, hey, we're just here. Like we can step into this hard thing.
Love it.
I guess we're gonna go figure out dinner now. After that,
Here.
we're in.
Sold the boat.
I'm in I'm in for this. And that's okay. So yeah.
So as we close here, to someone that's listening that is experiencing loneliness or feeling unseen, unheard, as you spoke about, how would you go about encouraging them?
As funny as it would sound, I would say, man, like when you find yourself in that sense of loneliness, it is really important to remember that you're actually not alone in that. Like that's what all the studies point to. Like this is a super common experience, right? It's a really common experience. And all of us experience it to some degree or other. Unfortunately, we live in a culture and society that far too many of us experience it far too often. So it becomes the norm, and then we're trying to like live through life without very important things being met. They would be the things that are met in community, whether that's with 2 people or 20 people. I would also say, it doesn't have to look like anything.
That's so helpful.
However you
that's so helpful.
Man, if you need to be doing this, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing this. Most of the time, those are shame voices for us that we're like, well, I should have this many friends. I'm supposed to be this. And internally I'm going, but I'm not that guy and they're not going to like me. It doesn't matter what it looks like. You were just made, and the way we are as people, and I personally, because of my faith, I believe that reflects who God is. But even still, even people who aren't Christians, I'm like, hey, dude, neurologically, when you feel really safe with people and they're connecting with you, really cool things happen in your body that really help you feel safe and secure, that actually help you be kind of your fullest self. So wherever you land faith-wise, that's just true. I think that's to me, that's like evidence of what we're created for.
Yeah.
But whatever that looks like, there are some avenues out there for you for it. The path of vulnerability is probably part of it. Whatever that vulnerability looks like, you don't have to dive into the ice cold, deep into the pool, but we get to kind of choose where we wade in. But even just wading in is a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But we begin to kind of take those steps towards something, whether it's like, starting tennis lessons or, like talking to 3 more people at church when you would typically only talk to 2, like whatever that is, whether it's, hey man, I actually have a really good friend and I think he would actually be open to listen to me talk about my marriage. We've never gone there in the 10 years I've known him, but what if I take a deep breath and give it a shot?
Yeah. Can we go grab coffee?
Yeah.
Can we grab a meal together?
Like? What does that look like for me to step into that? I also want to circle back. You asked earlier, like, what are kind of when you were talking about like steps we can take?
Yes.
I think, being honest with ourselves that most of us did not learn how to do this well. Almost all of us did not learn how to continue it well. You know, so like maybe we had tons of friends when we played intramural sports in college, and then we started working, and then all of a sudden we realized we're 45 and we have 3 kids and we have a business, and we just don't feel like we have time. Well, we didn't learn how to prioritize. No, man, it matters.
Yeah.
It matters for my family. It matters for me individually. Like, we need these things. So we have to be honest that, man, I might not have a great picture of that. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yep.
So we begin to look for people that might know how to do it, you know, and we kind of get curious about that, right? You know, curiosity is a huge thing. Just being curious about what do I feel like I need? What would I enjoy? And then I think the last piece I would probably say is learning like to kind of map a little bit of our internal landscape is really important. You know,
How do people do that?
Well, I mean, sometimes that's books, sometimes that's podcasts, sometimes that's, you know, sometimes it's counseling. Counseling is a great place to do that. But being able to go, man, I feel like life's not fully what I want it to be.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what's going on in here. So whereas like, whether it's a counselor, whether it's a group, whether it's like books, how do I begin to go, man, okay, I need to put some language to that emotional landscape of the heart. You know, because then when I begin to do that, I begin to be aware of more.
Yeah.
Like my brain is actually learning language.
Yep.
So then I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what that feeling is.
Yeah.
You know, I thought I was getting the flu. I'm actually having a panic attack. You know, but like, or like I realize I'm feeling lonely. I thought that was as good as life gets, but no, I'm actually putting language to it.
Yeah.
And that language does a couple things. It helps me know what's happening in me and describe what's happening in me.
Mm-hmm.
But it also becomes a vehicle that then I get to connect with you.
Communicate. Yeah,
You
I can
know,
speak a language that maybe you'll understand.
You know, and so
Yeah.
learning how to do that, you know, and then that also a really big plus to that is your wife will appreciate that. And then another really great thing to that is then you get to teach your kids to do the same.
Yes, you get to
So
model it.
good.
You get to help them go, oh, this is how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
You know, my son was at a sleepover last night, and he's like, he's texting, he's like, I don't feel good. I want to come home. And we're like, how bad do you feel? You know, and we're kind of even through text, and we have enough other conversations that he knew what we meant. Where we're basically going, hey man, are you kind of feeling bad because you're anxious? You're not going to be able to fall asleep, and then you get to go, yeah, I'm just kind of anxious.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm anxious, then I get to do things that help me calm down. You know,
Yes.
so being able to, I mean, that changes so much.
Having the right tools in the tool belt that only
man.
comes with time.
That's
And
huge.
if our listeners get anything out of this, I want them to hear just the time. It's gonna take time, right? But there is
Have grace on yourself.
yeah. Have grace on it. There's no end game
That's
to
it
this.
all
This
day.
is a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
So you're not doing this so you can feel the fulfillment of it just today and tomorrow. I'm doing this to build a tool belt for the lifetime that I have, so that I can be the best version of myself for my family, those around me, and teach it to the next generation too.
Yeah, it's not a sprint to a finish line. It's a different way of being and living in the world that helps us actually like have what we need to live in the world. Life's hard enough,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
you know.
Aaron, is there anything, how can people reach out to you, or what are the projects that you're on? Let's recap those if we could, please. You're on the 1010 Project.
Yeah, man. Work with 1010 Project. That's a year-long program where guys go through kind of in a cohort and just trying to actually build some deep relationships, get better at building those deep relationships, and care well for themselves emotionally so that they don't burn out. Solace Counseling is my wife and I's counseling office. She's a therapist as well. And so we have some friends that work with us. We're right downtown Orlando, Mills and Robinson. So solacecounseling.org is on there. And then that I mentioned, I also, I did a coaching certification program through Biola University. And so sometimes I do that stuff with guys and groups and organizations or companies, you know, where we're kind of identifying, hey, what might some of the goals or some of the desires be? And then how do we help map, you know, some plans and some
We have
steps to
guys
get
that
there.
run businesses here. How would they reach you for something like
They
that?
can get me through the info on the Solace Counseling website.
Okay.
Solace Counseling.
Yeah, my it's just my email on
Great.
there.
And
They
we'll
can
have
reach out
that
to me
linked
for that.
here so that everybody can find
That we will.
Yeah.
Guys, we're so grateful for you watching. If you've watched this far, let me ask you, are you struggling with isolation? Are you feeling like you're not living up to the potential you could be? Are you feeling like you need some relationships? Give this thing a second listen if you've gotten this far. Maybe there's so much data here that it could be like drinking from a fire hose. But take it one step at a time. You know, Andy said it's going to take time. Aaron went about reaffirming this constantly. You got to have grace on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. You know, life is hard enough as it is. You don't have to add fuel to the fire. So take that one step out to try to connect with somebody. We gave you a bunch of different ways to do that, but it is going to take you for that first step, and then, you know, pray about it in advance. That's what I always encourage, man. It's like, say a prayer to God, like, God, I'm going to do this crazy thing that I'm not used to doing. I'm not familiar with, Lord, but I'm going to have great expectations because I know you want me doing this. And, you know, open your eyes real wide, because you're going to see him start moving things around you. It might not be the exact thing you thought, but if your eyes are open wide enough, you'll see him all over the place. Yeah. So guys, thank you for joining us. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Please. On YouTube, comment. On Spotify, comment. All these places, that's how they know that you watched. Nowadays, it's not just the watch, it's just leaving your footprint there. So take just a half a second and do that. We thank you so much for joining us. We are Untrained Philosophical Discussionists. My name is Jonny Hanson. That there's Andy Lamb. This is our good buddy Aaron. We thank you so much for joining us. We just want to pray that you have a deep and a fulfilling relationship with Jesus, and that he blesses you all the days of your life.
And all God's people said.
They said amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate
it. It's great.
Sure.
Good to be with you. Very fun.
Thanks, guys.